Hey y'all, Scott here. I've been on a pretty good streak this year of not having any major injuries. But I still have a balance up to my hospital gift card, so it's just a little shovel to the head.
Nothing beats learning your relatives don't know a single thing about you by getting a gift card.
Oh, I got you a gas card because I happen to notice that you seem to love to drive to work every day.
We all enter that phase when we become hard to shop for, which in reality means nobody loves you enough to think critically for a second. I've been told I'm hard to shop for. How? My hobby couldn't be more blatant. I just don't know what to get him! Jeans. As a 24-year-old guy, being told I'm hard to shop for just means I know you don't like sports, so I bought you Axe body spray. Like, come on, you can't play this on a ColecoVision. See, but I did this to myself. After years of actual presence as a child, I entered my apathetic phase because I thought I was really fucking cool. I mustn't dare tell my family I like video games. I don't want them to look at me like some kind of nerd. So I generally kept to myself about my sheer interest in video games. I was watching gameplay of New Super Mario Bros. Wii online, and when my dad came in, I immediately hid the window and looked up porn. But when do you get the teenager who refuses to tell you about their actual interests? Gift cards! Buy your own present, you fucking creep. Oh, these are the thing to get if you're terrified of telling people what you really want for Christmas. Very interesting phenomenon. The gift card is seemingly a psychological trick, one where the gift giver feels like they actually bought the gift givee a gift, when in reality, you severely limited their options. Just give them cash. Instead, you're telling them, I don't want you to pay your bills, I want you to go to Fazoli's. Hey, I'm guilty of it too, both wanting gift cards and giving them. Just regular cash is more useful, but a gift card gets your mind going as to what you could buy with it. Being more limited forces you to think outside the box, to treat yourself with the money rather than just pocket the cash and use it on a toll booth or something. Which, as a teenage boy, a popular gift card to get me was of the gaming variety. Gift cards and gaming are all over the place, most notably when it comes to digital storefronts. A Wii Points card, your ticket to cruising through the Wii Shop channel to buy some old school classics or get ripped off of some WiiWare game. But did you ever realize just how wasteful the packaging for this was originally? Like, it's a card. Why do you not only need it in a paper sleeve, but surrounded by bulletproof plastic? When the rhinos go extinct, we know who to blame. I will never get over the trend of fake currency during this era. Wii Points, I will always understand. Just remove the decimal from the dollar amount, you got yourself a Wii Points to USD conversion tool. Microsoft Points freak me out. How does this work? These old digital store card designs have so much more charm than they do now. Which is the opposite of what went on with Nintendo. Look at the Xbox 360 points card you could buy. Like, if you were a kid, there's always something new to look at and read on the car ride home. I was like, this upcoming generation is oh, they didn't get shapes on their Xbox card. But Nintendo, the inverse happened. The old school Wii Shop channel cards were unbelievably bland. Watch out behind you, there's a happy couple playing Wario's Woods. Later, they released Nintendo DSi Shop channel cards before combining them to be Nintendo Points cards, then Nintendo eShop cards for the 3DS, Wii U, and now we get cards with characters' faces on them, which this is far more appealing. I mean, it's a little messed up how Nintendo is ranking their characters' worth. Donkey Kong is $99. Is that his fixed rate? They have a gift card for every amount over at Nintendo. How many of you bought the $5 one? I really had an itch for Bouncy Bob and Bouncy Bob 4 more times. But you know what was the coolest thing about gift cards for a while? What GameStop did with them. They sold exclusive gift card holding tins based on game consoles, which I always found adorable. Apparently nobody else did. These were pennied out. This Wii tin, I mean, if it didn't actually sell for a penny, that's a problem with society, not the tin. This is really cool. It makes it so you have something to actually open, like a present! Then you have a cool little collectible to put on your shelf afterwards. The gift card is nestled in here. Okay, that just looks kind of gross. I think the Nintendo DS Lite tin steals the show, though. You open it up and it shows screenshots from Phantom Hourglass and fake little buttons. This is really in depth for such a superfluous item. Not all of them can be winners, though. The Wii U Gamepad gift card tin, I might as well just give your son this. It's just a regular tin with a Wii U Gamepad design printed onto it. Not nearly as cool as the others here, but it's at least a neat enough design. The other tins do take some liberties with some dimensions, while the gamepad is fairly true to form. Like, look at those areolas! And God bless Nintendo for having system designs that work as gift card tins. Because without them, we're f***ed. The Xbox One X gift card tin. Now, you may be saying, well, Scott, this is supposed to be a miniature version of the console's box, because everybody remembers the Xbox One X box. Iconic moments in gaming! Outside of the tins, there are a few other cool things done with gift cards. One I remember was the Photos with Mario collection of Nintendo eShop cards for the 3DS. These would double as not only eShop cards, but AR cards you could use with a free downloadable 3DS application. You could pose and play around with some Mario models. It was a really cool inclusion that Nintendo never needed to do. Like, think about it. This was one of the lower points in the company's history, with the Wii U's failure and right after having to cut the 3DS's price point. So, what does Nintendo do? The exact opposite of making money. These cost the exact same as any other eShop card. So you'd be a fool not to get the Photos with Mario edition.
You idiot!
So it's like Nintendo put that much more effort into selling eShop cards and made no extra money off of it, but hey, I'm sure they sold a few more eShop cards this way. I can't imagine a ton, but it was a cool little thing to collect. Though AR cards on the 3DS aren't anything special. They're printed on regular paper, so you can just bring up the image on your phone and it has the same effect in the 3DS app. They did versions of this for Animal Crossing and Pikmin as well, though those didn't release in North America. I guess they know we're just more into not deals over here. Well, these days, gift cards aren't as fun. Look at the ones on display right now. We have the in-game currency gift cards. If you know all your son wants his Madden points, you could ask for anything this Christmas. So you did. Oh man, a Fortnite gift card? That's a weird way to spell Roblox. And that's a weird way to spell Roblox. The game-specific ones, cards that give you the codes to specific games, which often aren't on the cards themselves. They get printed on your receipt upon purchase, which, what's the point of the card when you have to include the receipt? Just buy $60 worth of store credit. You ever wonder how they choose which games to offer as digital copy cards? Like, think about it. They f***ed up a tree for this. Then, of course, we have the normal everyday store cards, which make the most sense to me. I don't have much of a reason at all to buy gift cards for myself anymore, as when you get to a certain age, you just use your credit card on these services, unless you're really paranoid. But man, these were so much more fun. Now it's like, oh great, ActRaiser Renaissance came out. Let me waste my money on it. With only a $20 gift card, you had to really think it through. It made every purchase on the Wii Shop channel or Xbox Live Arcade that much more exciting. This was your choice. Many times I go for as many games as possible. I could get 4 NES games for 2,000 Wii points, or 2 Nintendo 64 games, or a few WiiWare titles. And being limited made each purchase that much more special. It was so much fun to pick these up at the store and excitingly rush to the console to input the code and browse for hours figuring out what to buy. Of course now, I can buy whatever I want, damn it. Watch this. You think somebody happy could do that? But sometimes, less is more. It really makes you appreciate the little things as a kid. While there were limitations, it made you appreciate the smallest things. Gaming gift cards were a joy to get back then. Now it's like, come on, you didn't just know I wanted Sackboy? But even though they're not as exciting or useful to me now, I will always treasure the thought of getting a Microsoft Points card. And the dread that came with converting it.
I think I finally figured out the formula. So 1,600 Microsoft points equals solve for V-Bucks. What the f*** is that? Hey y'all, Scott here. What do I want for Christmas? For some tree to get absolutely f***ed up. That works.
What the f*** do I do? That's where the holiday gift guides come in. These giant fat books. Like, oink oink, Mr. Cow. You ever have a really hard time figuring out what to get somebody you should know inside and out by now? Like, how do you not know your dad's shoe size? Well, these books are here to help. Bingo. As a kid, your natural instinct was to thumb through these catalogs with an ass-red pen and make sure mom knows damn well your priorities. It's so much easier this way, because how often do you know off the top of your head everything you need?
A septic tank.
Having nearly everything sellable right in front of your face definitely helps, but that's considering what these guides were like back when they were new. Now, they're straight up time capsules. This is the oldest one I own from the holiday season of 1983, the Video Game Christmas Guide. Let's see, they suggest the Magnavox Odyssey 2, okay. The Odyssey 2, the Odyssey 2, and the Odyssey 2. I think this fits the term propaganda well. Who do you think you are calling a Magnavox Odyssey 2 at a video game gift guide? None of those words apply. This released just a year before the Odyssey 2 was discontinued, so I'm sure they cheaped out on staples by going with this folder-esque design, but in all honesty, this is pretty cool. It gives you the opportunity to turn any of these pages into posters. Pop this on your wall, blast some metal, and tell mom to off. The next oldest one I own is actually from Japan. This one is a part of the long-running Japanese magazine Weekly Famitsu, released in November of 1991 and covers Famicom, Super Famicom, and Game Boy releases. Yeah, English may be my first language, but Japanese is tied for second along with all the other languages I don't know. Of course, taking into consideration the fact I can't read any of this, at the very least, thumbing through and seeing all the pictures is somewhat appealing. I mean, it's kinda cool to think there was a time when Hatris was just coming out. Seeing screenshots of Famicom and Game Boy games that are so obviously just taken with a camera off screen is really charming. When I was a kid, that's how I would have put together a video game magazine in Microsoft Office or something, so it's really cool to see actual professionals use more amateurish techniques, even if it's only because that's all they could really do at the time. Now, I will reiterate, What? I can't read any of this, so let's dumb it down a notch. This right here is probably what many will think of when hearing holiday gift guide, the Sears catalog, this one being from 1992. What's Sears, you may ask? I'll answer that by asking, what's Kmart? Sears was a department store, the most popular for a while. They sold pretty much everything, but I don't know. Something about the logo made me think all they sold was car parts. But no, if this wish book is anything to go by, they did it all. They're still around now with a softer logo that makes it feel more like a Macy's. That's gotta be plagiarism. But their prominence is greatly reduced compared to their peak years. Not nearly as many stores, barely anybody talks about them, and it's pissing me off.
I'm going to Sears!
These wish books covered everything, as in here's the cover showcasing children telling Santa what they want. Lingerie. Collegeopoly. What kind of jerks can't get the Monopoly license? For style points, they include NES games and accessories in with this listing for crew necks and cargos, because I'd like to see you play Metroid in anything but. See, I like this because it shows how everything was back in 1992, not just video games. Pants were different back then. Or how novelty fish merch was just getting started. A personal tanning bed for $2,500? I already own a flashlight.
This counts.
Ha! Grooming kits for kids.
It's not what you think!
Yeah, they were doing play shaving kits with Batman and Ninja Turtles licensing, which makes things better.
This came from Batman.
Oh, a Barbie party bake oven. That's just an easy bake oven, you coward. You know, I always wanted an easy bake oven as a kid. I mean, why wouldn't I? I could make cake whenever I wanted. But of course, the boy version was called the Queasy Bake Oven and only had gross sounding recipes because obviously no boy would ever want to make brownies. Oh, hell yeah, the little computers for kids. This one looks pretty high tech, all things considered. We spent $50 on this thing and all he's typing is horse. The hell, they had gamer chairs all the way back then? I thought those were invented in the mid-2000s to keep the Xbox fans down.
I have back problems and play Halo.
That's just too much. Character sleeping bags. Out of all these, why would you pick the car that's half shown or the rollerbladers? I want to be inside that. The photos here are quite impressive considering that pretty much every product has kind of an elaborate photo shoot setup. Like, look at these toys, all having thematically appropriate backgrounds and terrain. For an era without Photoshop, this is really cool. A rector.
Yep.
He agrees. I even have collectibles, autographs, sports, and pop culture memorabilia. I just flat out wouldn't expect that from a department store. Oh my god, a gumball machine for only 20 bucks? I would have lost my fucking mind at that as a kid. I love this kind of garbage. Like, it would make my bedroom feel like a Fazoli's. Entire box sets of comic books, pool, air hockey, and foosball tables, board games, miniature at-home plastic pinball games, which I owned this Mario 64 one as a kid. Speaking of which, we're finally at the video game portion of the wish book. You know, this thing goes all over the place. I'm not sure how they're organizing it. It's like, here's a section for kids, then here's underwear, mom. Well, firstly, we got the Game Boy front and center here alongside LCD games by Konami. Only 20 bucks a pop, but the actual Game Boy games themselves, not bad, only around 30. I always loved this Game Boy carrying case that looks just like a Game Boy. Weirdly enough, no screenshots of games for the handheld, while on the next page for the Atari Lynx and Sega Game Gear, we get nothing but Bill and Ted, time-traveling righteous dudes on a wacky adverb. The Turbo Duo was $300. Moving on, right in the middle of the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo rivalry, with images of Sonic and Mario front and center. The Mario artwork looks ripped from the Japanese manga series. Sonic, well, they used the Japanese design compared to the North American one. This book is just flat out fun to look through. I mean, I think everybody gets a kick out of just looking at toys. Look, you can be Nickelodeon. But there's so much here that I feel like vintage Sears wish book should be held to a higher standard these days. Historians should scoop these up and treasure them, as nothing else will give you a better indication of what was going on this year than this. But the wish book covers everything. What about something a bit more fine-tuned? This right here is an electronics boutique catalog from holiday 1994. Yikes, 96 pages? You're weak. Literally half of this entire catalog is PC software, which, hey, at least old school PC games had some of the coolest boxes. Since they weren't restricted to a standardized format, they could do trapezoids, tombstones, or just out there graphic designs like Front Page Sports or the Bicycle pack of playing cards for this collection of PC card games. The Street Fighter series includes Street Fighter 1 and 2 plus bonus Mega Man 1 and 3. Well, then this package is just as much Mega Man as it is Street Fighter. What the hell? Jesus, $30 for screensavers? Like, how is this the same price as Dr. Ruth's Encyclopedia of Sex? And why is Seinfeld more expensive than both? Contains all the information you and your family need to be sexually literate in the 90s.
Any other decade, you're
Or you're not getting f***ed, I guess, so make your way to American Dream Calendar Girl screensaver. This is a tough decision. Bro, Metal and Lace contains violence and sexy graphics? Is that a warning or a selling point? Looking for something fun and exciting yet sexier than munching dots or pudgy painters? Oh, go f*** yourself. You losers playing Pac-Man when you should be horny. Limber up those fingers. Comes packed with speed and action to challenge the player in you, and includes the first ever action game plot to entertain you. You really think this would turn me on? You think Pac-Man doesn't, cause joke's on you, it does! Finally, we're out of the PC section, and things start off with the Tiger Electronic LCD games. Jesus Christ. All roughly 20 bucks, except for this Dear Diary one. Obviously, it's a bit more complex, almost like a miniature electronic planner. Speaking of which, did you know Sega made something like that? A Sega Electronic Communicator and Organizer. This entire page is dedicated to everything Sega that barely counts as Sega. The Pocket Arcade, the Pico, Pods. Who the hell are you? Then there's the 4 pages for the Panasonic 3DO. You can trademark the word real. Roughly $70 per 32X game. That's f***ed up. 36 great holes. Who ranked them? Rayman got this bizarre temporary box art and was referred to as the Rayman. Pages dedicated to different publishers. Oh my god, like you'd think these pages are being utilized enough. Mickey. It's so cool to see temporary box art like this for games so old. To see that they didn't have Super Punch-Out or Uniraces or Tin Star art, so they had to make their own. It's really something else. But my god, video game prices were ridiculous back then. The fact that Tetris 2 is only $10 less than Super Metroid is a crime. The fact that X-Men and the Great Circus Mystery are both $70, but at least there's a pre-order bonus for Wario's Woods for the player that just couldn't wait. But then Final Fantasy 3 was 80 bucks, which makes sense. If you're getting money out of any game, it's probably this one. Though they messed up the name in the descriptions here. Brutal Paws of Fury is more expensive than Super Metroid, Mario Paint, and Donkey Kong Country. That's confidence. This guide is nothing but pure joy to skim through. Even though half of it is taken up by old PC software, it's kind of refreshing. You don't see that stuff covered nearly as much as old school console games, so it's neat to see everything this guide covers, plus how much it all cost at the time. Each of the big video game companies generally put out their own little brochure, like this PlayStation one from 2002. Live in your world, play in ours. Stuart Little 2. Guides like this mainly just focus on the holiday lineup for said system, rather than what's the thing to buy. And those specific games like Sly Cooper and SOCOM get much more space than others. It's obvious Sony's really trying to push stuff like Primal. I really like catalogs like this because they help put you in the shoes of a gamer back then. I only really started to consume gaming news around 2008 or so. To be able to look at 2002 from the eyes of a PlayStation 2 owner, I think it's important. Which doing so would piss off gamers from 2002 because I'm acting like I really know what it was like to be gaming in 2002, but it would piss them off otherwise if I was only talking about how Wii music was my childhood. But hey, 2003 was my childhood, so I think a Sears catalog from this time will do wonders for me. I can immediately see a huge difference in quality here. This feels much more modern already. A $10 512 games in one LCD game. Arcade style display? What the hell are you talking about? That has more in common with a calculator than an arcade machine. It's like, oh, this is just like an arcade machine. It exists. Personalized cotton towel, as in they used a label maker? Oh my god, I always wanted one of these portable TVs. That would have been amazing to use that wherever I please, especially if you combine it with the Video Center TV stand. Bring that on a trip, would ya? Nope, looks like some things never change. For all the kids who browse the wish book to circle what they want for Christmas.
That's a crotch.
Yes, this is a very 2003. Extreme sweatshirts next to Levi's with Levi's in bold red on the jeans.
Yeah, the only reason I wear pants is because people know they're Levi's.
Yes, the state-of-the-art TV for the time was this behemoth. Honestly, if you're one of those old farts that say things are too complicated now, have fun moving this. What the hell? Okay, so Palm handhelds seem to be precursors to the Palm cell phones, but these are more so digital planners. But here are Palm Pack games sold separately, including Rayman and a Sega Classics compilation. I have never heard of this. It turns out the Sega one is a bunch of Game Gear games. I assumed this was gonna be Genesis games, but no, it's Game Gear. A microwave with a toaster built in. Who the hell wants a toaster on its side like that? You're gonna get crumbs everywhere. Gotta be honest, these pictures of toys aren't nearly as impressive as the books from the 90s. I mean, those compositions were intense. Yeah, they're pretty much just putting them on solid color backdrops. It's a huge downgrade in my opinion. But 2003, the mini LCD games have pretty much been relegated to board and card games. I had the Yahtzee one as a kid, and Okay, well, I guess by 2003, Sears gave up on video games. Weird considering they still did the Palm stuff. They were selling DVD and CD players and lingerie, but no movies, music, or video games. For that, I suppose we have to look at the GameStop 2003 holiday catalog. This one is far more kind of fucking boring. It's still cool, but every page feels the exact same. I don't understand why most games and products have prices, but then others just have great gift or yes, like give me answers. Much like previous years, I really find it compelling to see temporary box art. I mean, this Wario World one, I wish it wasn't temporary. I can go through these kind of things all day, and I'd love to do more in the future. But for the time being, I think this was a lovely trip down holiday memory lane.
Because who doesn't look at a $2,500 tanning bed and go, nostalgia? The holidays are a stressful time, but it's important to cherish those smaller, simpler moments because in reality, those are the moments you will remember for years to come. Sometimes I remember these books more than the actual Christmases these books were for. And even then, I don't even remember a lot of the products in these books. More so, I remember spending time with my grandma circling products. I mean, those are superfluous memories, but special ones. So, thank you, Sears. Hey y'all, Scott here. I have an exciting announcement to make. I am officially old enough to not be happy. Let's talk about nostalgia!
I own hundreds of games at this point. It's a bit of a quirk. I mean, I didn't just slip and oops, look what happened. No, I chose this lifestyle, much like how I chose to not shower this week. And once you own this many games, your personal connection towards them starts to wane. Back when I had like 10 games, I had something unique to say about each and every one. Now, I mean, I can try. Pull a random game off the shelf.
It starts with an X.
That's when you have to dig deep for nostalgia. Think about your childhood games and what games do you remember more than the ones you unwrapped on Christmas morning. This right here, this was all I wanted Christmas of 2008. Sonic Unleashed. I saw one trailer online and my jaw dropped. It looked incredible. The beautiful graphics, sense of speed. It's almost as if the game was good. Well, the trailer I watched was for the Xbox 360 version. Thankfully, a Wii release happened as that was my only current console at the time. Once I opened it that Christmas, I immediately popped it into play. And you know what? To an 11-year-old, this looked close enough to the trailers that I wasn't too disappointed. But then the gimmick of this game showed its ugly face, the werehog sections. You know, these aren't bad. It's not like the game is horrible. Sonic Unleashed suffers from the good stages being so good and the werehog stages being so werehog. Sega shoehorned this concept of Sonic turning into a bad bitch at night to appeal to more people, but like this was never what got me interested in the game. How can you have half the game look like this and think that's not good enough? It's all because they couldn't make an entire game's worth of HD beautiful stages that you just zoom right through. It would be too expensive, so have beat 'em up sections where you have a snaggletooth. The first few stages of Sonic Unleashed I adored, but yeah, after a few of the werehog nighttime ones, I lost interest in the game. It's a shame because this was my most hyped game ever. I was so damn excited to play this on Christmas morning. And while I liked it, I do vividly remember a werehog stage being the last one I played before shelving it. But you know what I got right alongside Sonic Unleashed? Lego Batman the video game, also for Wii. Everybody has a Lego Batman story, mine just so happens to be adultery. Sonic Unleashed, we were just on a break! 2 Wii games for Christmas ain't a bad deal, but the very next year in 2009, I had one of my most memorable presents ever. See, there's generally the stigma that you get your big boy presents when unwrapping them from your parents. When you go to see your extended family, that's when you have to go in with expectations that the gifts aren't gonna be anything that expensive or massive. You know, a full-fledged Wii game, $50, that's a lot to expect from your uncle. So I just straight up didn't ask for anything like that, but lo and behold, my cousin's boyfriend bought me new Super Mario Bros. Wii. Holy shit. That was the video game for that holiday season. A full-priced one at that, and I got it for Christmas, not even from a blood relative. I must have been some 12-year-old. And with my fake ID, I still am. Sadly, being an only child made the main gimmick of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, that being multiplayer, a little inaccessible for me. But playing it as a typical Mario game, I still had a good time with it, no doubt about that. But I think the rush of getting it as an extended family Christmas gift still resides inside me. Looking back at old family photos, enhance! That's f***ing Simpsons Road Rage. 2005, this was one of my gifts, a Game Boy Advance copy of Road Rage. This is literally a Crazy Taxi clone, but it's quality, especially for a GBA game. I found it so incredibly impressive, just driving around in a 3D space on a Game Boy Advance. It was so cool. I never really even played the taxi missions, I just kept selecting the Sunday drive mode and explored the world. But you can't play Simpsons Road Rage without patent infringement, and a Game Boy Advance. 2003 was the year I got a Game Boy Advance SP. Now, to be fair, I had a normal Game Boy Advance prior. I got that for my birthday the year prior alongside a copy of SpongeBob SquarePants Legend of the Lost Spatula because, you know, I'm me. But the very next year, I got the SP model, that gorgeously vibrant red model nestled in a new carrying case. This was my magnum opus, owning a Game Boy Advance SP. No longer needing batteries, the clamshell design made it more compact, the backlit screen made the screen possible to see for the first time ever. See, that is a child that has finally seen the light. Fast forwarding to 2011, that was the year I finally upgraded to an Xbox 360 with the Kinect bundle. And there was this GameStop deal going on during Black Friday that I convinced my mom to scarf down on. As you can tell, this was at the point where I no longer had much whimsy with Christmas presents. It was more so pointing and saying that, hey, that still made for a great Christmas. Lots of games came as a part of this whole shtick. I got Kinect Adventures with the 360, plus invested in Dance Central, U-Star 2, and GoldenEye 007 Reloaded. And then on top of that, my mom bought me the Gunstringer without my knowledge. How nice of her. This was a pretty fun holiday, just a lot of stuff I wanted, especially U-Star 2. You get to put yourself in movie clips. I adored this concept. The problem was nobody in my family cared to play along with it. Like, I tried to set it up at some gatherings and nobody wanted to play ball, which was so lame. You ever have that? Where you have a dumb little product you want to give a go at family gatherings and nobody wants to look like a jackass for your amusement? Yeah, it pisses me off too. You, Betty. Oh shoot, I got a Wii tower and a chair in 2009? I completely forgot about that.
How could I forget being a gamer?
Pretty much, the games like these, I will always have that personal connection to. And out of all the products to have a personal connection to, I'm happy it's these video games.
Video games can take the form of many gifts during the holidays, whether they're the games themselves, their in-holiday gift guides, or their gift cards. And they're always some of the best presents you could possibly get. But it's everything around those gifts that's truly special. Who gave it to you? Who played it with you on that holiday morning? The joy of opening up that present from somebody you care about, or seeing the face of somebody you care about give you the gift. All of those matter way more than the gifts themselves. It truly goes to show that Christmas is all about the experience of being around the people you love. So just don't be a spoiled bitch.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Online personality test. I have no idea who I am, so just let Google tell me. You have to shout to make a point properly. Yeah. Did you eat anything today? Tylenol. Do you just want to plug and play games? Do I have a face? I won!
So you have a video game console, right?
Welcome to the club.
And you have to plug it into the wall, then plug it into the TV, then plug in a controller, then play it. This isn't plug and play technology. Have you been keeping track of the plugs at play here? I just want to plug something in once, and I'm done, and it has a nose.
I wasn't expecting an answer this soon.
Plug and play games were the sole reason some bin in my living room's corner had purpose. If you didn't own at least one of these from 02 to 09, did you even exist? These things were the thing back in the 2000s. They came in these big fat boxes and proudly proclaimed, plug it in and play. See, no power adapter or extra controllers were necessary. All you had to do was pop in a couple of batteries and plug this directly into your TV with the yellow and white cables. Or I don't know, they could be forks, I'm colorblind. These things could be anything. Composite cables, one for video and one for sound. And if you're good enough, another one for sound. Once you were done with the setup, you'd flick the switch on the controller and boom! Look at this, no power adapter necessary. It plugs directly into the TV. This is magical.
Plug and plays were always charming little distractions, and they were easy gift ideas for kids. They were only like 20 bucks a pop, and you didn't have to think about what game console your kid had. All you had to know was, oh, my son likes circles, this'll do. But many times these plug and play games felt like an excuse to sell subpar games inside of a colorful container. Like, I don't want to play this, I want to eat it.
The core plug and play brand I remember was by Jack's Pacific, but they weren't the first of their kind. The TV Boy from the 90s was the first plug and play many will point towards. It repurposed Atari 2600 games and included over 100 of them in an oval. Technology was evolving and fast. This was more of a bootleg console though. Pretty much all of the games included weren't properly licensed and had their names changed. But what the TV Boy did was not only obtain a cease and desist, but also set the standard for plug and play games in the future. Power them with batteries and utilize older technology. And one of the first ones to do this, legally, was the Activision 10-in-1 byte Toy Max in the year 2000. While not 100% confirmed, many do believe this was the first of the modern plug-and-plays. You have the cables, the logo, the legality, it has it all. This device features 10 Activision classics from the Atari 2600, so you know what that means, it looks like this. Yes, this is the controller you'd associate with the games included on this plug and play, and then this is the plug and play you wouldn't be able to identify in the street. So the on and off switch and reset buttons are on the shoulders, cool, and we have two D-pads, cool, with one acting as the buttons, cool, and the game selection, Cool, this one isn't too great. The design's not ideal, and surprisingly, the games aren't much better. But you gotta give this plug and play credit where credit's due. It started a revolution. Jakks Pacific started up their line of plug and play consoles shortly afterwards and truly popularized this kind of stuff, and soon everybody was making them. These were the ones I owned back in the day. See, I may have had a GameCube and Game Boy Advance, but that didn't mean I wasn't interested in playing worse games. The Atari plug and play is modeled directly after the original Atari 2600 joystick, and quite well at that. Everything feels exactly how it should here, and that means it doesn't feel great. But they did a fantastic job recreating the experience of the Atari 2600, and it was my first and best experience with the console's catalog. Technically speaking, these are recreations of the games, not 100% the same as the original 2600 versions, though they were made to be as close as possible. I played a lot of Breakout and Pong and Centipede and tried to understand the context of Yar's Revenge as a kid. These games, while nothing crazy, were fun enough to warrant untangling this thing from time to time. This device may have been one of the first stepping stones to me liking games nobody gives a shit about anymore. Of course, I brought up previously how it was strange I had so many of these things when I had perfectly working game consoles at hand, but the Atari plug and play offered something those consoles didn't: the unique controller. Because this was a dedicated device, they were able to replicate the original 2600 joystick, so playing this really does feel like you're actually playing Atari. You could have just bought an Atari compilation on the Xbox, but are you really playing Atari with this thing? So that's one thing the plug and plays had over traditional game systems. The controllers could be whatever they felt like. Oh, we'll get to this one. The Pac-Man plug and play by Jakks Pacific. Everybody had this one. Me, Scott, everybody. 5 Namco classics at play here: Pac-Man, Galaxian, Rally X, Dig Dug, and Bosconian. And back in the day, I called this list Pac-Man, Galaxian, Rally X, Dig Dug, and what? This is an alright collection. These games aren't one-to-one with their arcade originals, but they're better than playing the old NES versions, and also better than a bunch of the compilation discs on consoles, because here, we have a joystick. Of course, using this now doesn't feel as good as I remember. It feels a little clunky, the stick doesn't feel substantial enough, the unit isn't big enough to really fully use the stick like I would on a real arcade machine, but it was a decent joystick at the time, and all these games are factually more fun with a joystick. Of course, they followed this up with a Ms. Pac-Man plug and play, featuring different and better games: Ms. Pac-Man, Galaga, Xevious, Mappy, and Pole Position. I got so much mileage out of both of these plug and plays, and this was where my love for the Namco arcade games began. What's interesting about the Ms. Pac-Man unit is Pole Position is controlled by twisting the head of the joystick. I didn't know that as a kid, and when I tried playing the game, the car would never move. Now, how did I never know that, considering there are multiple signs showing that this is how you control pole position?
Oh, hey, it's my friend. I don't know how I didn't realize I had to twist the joystick in pole position. I was just a kid. Leave me alone.
I hate my parents.
These two were my most played plug and plays, but of course, it's impossible to ignore for much longer. My fourth plug and play was the Etch-a-Sketch plug and play. It never worked. It came with a cartridge. Why? Like, the cart came in the box with the plug and play, and it was the only cart released for the plug and play, so why make a cartridge slot on the plug and play if there's only one cartridge for it and you could just build the elements of the cartridge on the inside of the plug and play?
What the f***? Etch-a-Sketch?
I don't have this one anymore, so I'll throw the concept of it to the side and make way for my true final plug and play I owned as a kid: corroded batteries. Wish I would have known about that before making that pact. The SpongeBob SquarePants plug and play. It, of course, isn't a collection of old games, but it kind of is. It features 5 games made specifically for this unit, and each of them is incredibly similar to another retro classic. I wouldn't consider these to be full-on rip-offs, rather friendly plagiarism. This game's similar to Breakout, this one's Life Force, this one's Missile Command, this one's Zelda, and this one's Donkey Kong. But strangely, these are all pretty fun time wasters. The controls feel really solid, and I honestly think Bubble Pop in this game is better than Breakout on the Atari plug and play. And the stick itself is great. I mean, come on, somebody thought of this. There's a fact for you. But while playing, the stick broke and doesn't register the direction of down. This broke right before playing the Donkey Kong ripoff. It's all the way down there. I can't access it anymore, and all I can possibly do with this plug and play now is play Bubble Pop. I'm okay with this. So these were the main ones I owned. Wait, actually, I did have an Intellivision one, because all 9-year-olds love Intellivision. That was alright, though I remember the controller feeling really cheap and generic. I mean, this is what an Intellivision controller is, so let's play Spot the Difference. It seems like various plug and plays reused old assets, whether it was games, game design, graphics, sound effects, menus, or even the controller shell itself. Where's the evidence? Well, look no further than RCA TV Joypad console. So this uses the same controller design as my old Intellivision one, and just makes me ask, why is there a joystick and a D-pad, and how is this a D-pad? It's more hubcap than D-pad. I would ask why this is necessary for Intellivision games, but who knows, maybe this controller design was tailor-made for RCA TV Joypad console. You know, I always associate RCA with TV remotes, so they're one of my top 7,000 candidates for making a good game console.
Top 8,000.
So I think we covered pretty much the 3 types of plug and plays: the official old school throwbacks, the licensed kids games that usually ripped off other games gracefully, and then RCA TV Joypad console. This is a collection of cheap, low quality games that have been spread around to various other generic consoles like this. But I mean, if you want to play Roadstar, don't. There's also Go Bang Animal Pool. That's not a sentence, it was a list. Well, that was my collection of plug and plays as a kid. Kinda. You know, these were frequently played by me, which is weird to think about. I mean, pretty much all of these had outdated and subpar graphics, and I always had better quality stuff playable on my actual game consoles. But most of the games included on these things were addictive, high score-based titles. Games you could just pop in, play for a bit, and pop out. These were solid games to have on these things because when you wanted to play them, just plug it and play. You didn't have to worry about making room on the power outlet or anything. Of course, being battery powered meant more times than not when I'd want to play one of these things, I'd pull it out of storage and go, oh fucking shit, I left this thing on for a month. It kept things simple though. Now, why do all of them require a screwdriver to access the batteries? I don't know, this is a bit of a pain. But hey, there were tons more plug and play, specifically by Jack Specific. There was Spider-Man, Pinball, Poker, Mortal Kombat, Fantastic Four, Scooby-Doo, Batman, Star Wars, Capcom, Superman, 1 vs. 100, WWE, DreamWorks, I'm forgetting thousands more. But here are just a few more I've picked up recently. Atari's back, and this time with a knob! The Atari Paddle Plug and Play, similar to the joystick, but this time we're replicating the original paddle controller, which allows for smooth as butter movement in games like Pong and Breakout. This feels so much better than the original Atari one. I mean, I loved playing Pong and Breakout with this thing, but controlling them was a bit stiff. In Pong, you could always find one spot that the ball would just keep going to and just stay there for hours to rack up points. In the paddle plug and play, the games are so much more fluid and fun to control. Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. See, Wheel of Fortune has an actual wheel. What did you do today? This is a good one, even if it didn't accept my answer for what a slogan might be. The elephant attacks that. It was curiously strong mint. The wheel feels great, and Wheel of Fortune makes a ton of sense as a plug and play. Now Jeopardy, if you play with 3 people, you can buzz in as others. It's great. The Disney plug and play features a couple of games based on various Disney characters. This is most similar to the SpongeBob one. Each game is of a different style. The first one, you have to change the direction of the bridges to make a clear-cut path. So I constantly failed at the first level, but afterwards I swept the fucking floor with Timon to the rescue. We have a Lilo and Stitch platformer, Duck Golf. No, that can't work. Aladdin's another platformer that feels a bit similar to Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. It might just be because you can throw apples in this one too. But it ends with a very basic puzzle game based on the Lion King. You know, that's 2 Lion King based games in one whole thing. I don't like how the Disney logo is slanted because I keep thinking that's the top of the device and accidentally point the joystick in the wrong direction. But hey, these plug and plays always have such fun designs. At least the joystick looks like a circle. Well, to quote me at the end of this sentence, there's always an EA Sports one. Yeah, the EA Sports plug and play, shaped like a Sega Genesis controller. It comes with Madden 95, NHL 95, and fingers crossed, Timon to the rescue. Damn it. See, I enjoyed the fact this exists, but my god. 2 sports games from the 90s that stores would pay you to take from them, included in a Sega Genesis controller you plug directly into your TV. I like when these plug and plays offer unique-ish games or games with controllers you couldn't get on regular game consoles. This one's a bit too fucking worthless for my liking, but it's kind of neat. And hey, at least it's fairly G-rated. Sure, you can combine the letters from the title screen to spell ass rat, but I'm sure the kids wouldn't notice. So what about a plug and play for the adults? Well, here's World Poker Tour, rated M. Actually, the M rating is a sticker, and peeling it off reveals the original rating was E. Well, it's a good thing they reconsidered. Can you imagine kids playing this? I can't. I don't want to imagine the world burning the fuck down. There's an LCD screen on this unit, and it comes with a bonus DVD. Well, don't mind if I do. The game itself, it reminds me of something. I can't remember. Poker! The final Jack-specific plug and play I have is a Nicktoons one, focused on various Nickelodeon cartoons. It just came in the mail, so let's cut it open and take a... Alright, they can't all be winners. For some reason, Jack shipped this unit with the wires pre-cut. That's unfortunate. This is lame because I actually had an accessory for this specific unit too. A game key. That should show you how popular these devices were. They actually got accessories like this released for them. Game keys were made for specific plug and plays that had cartridge slots. You could buy these and expand the game selection on these things. It's really weird because I thought the entire point of these things was that they were way simpler than game consoles. You didn't have to worry about what game system your kid had. You could just buy them a plug and play and know for a fact they will be able to play it. But then then you start releasing game cartridges that work with specific plug-and-plays, and all this one says is that it works with Nickelodeon controllers. I wouldn't be surprised if some moms bought their kids a game key because they had a Nickelodeon plug-and-play that didn't have a game key slot. Here's a power adapter for Jack-specific plug-and-plays. My god, with the game key and this is starting to become a lot more than just plug-and-play.
Jack-specific really rolled with the plug-and-play success for a while, which meant they made some really dumb stuff, but they weren't the only company to not give a shit.
Various others made their own plug-and-plays. For example, Toymax. They were bought by Jack-specific. RCA. They stunk. But here we have a Tetris plug-and-play by Radica. It's your basic Tetris. You have a few different modes, the traditional Tetris theme, solid visuals, 2 players right out of the box. You can just attach the second controller included. This is hell. This controller is abysmal. All they had to do was put a D-pad and a button, but no, they had to make it unique. So you move this block as a joystick to move your piece and twist it to rotate. Not only is this control scheme really lousy for Tetris, the control stick itself is wildly stiff. I don't know why they felt the need to make it like this when they could have easily saved money by using a traditional controller. Hell, even the RCA controller would have been better. How about Crayola electronic coloring book? I don't know why I'm disappointed. TV Wild Adventure Mini Golf. There better not be any ducks or I'm gonna fucking lose it. So this is interesting. It's a motion control golf game. You adjust your shot like this and wave the golf club over the sensor. Problem is, waving anything will register it as a hit, so as long as you keep the sensor covered, your character will constantly putt. Here's another gimmicky one, American Idol Dance Showdown. American Idol, you know, the competition show about singing. Here's a dancing game. It's a blatant clone of Dance Dance Revolution. You get a mat, you lay it out, and step on the right arrows at the right time. See, it's fine, but I personally feel that plug-and-plays work best when they supplement what you can do on a home console with unique controllers instead of just offering a version of DDR that a dollar store can sell.
So that should give you a pretty good idea as to what the plug-and-plays were back in the mid-2000s, but that doesn't mean they aren't still readily available today, though I have no idea who's still buying them.
Modern plug-and-play. So most of the ones I see look like this. Big box, white joystick, white buttons, cheap fonts. This company MSI is responsible for a lot of these, and their website features Mario fan art. They have never worked with Nintendo. So these are blatantly incredibly cheap. Many of them reuse the same joysticks that already don't feel great to begin with. But for some reason they decided to swap the placements of the joystick and buttons for a few of them. Most of these are just one NES game inside a joystick, and they all stink. They work, but they aren't a great way to play these games. So much about this doesn't make any sense. So you wanted to make a plug and play for people who were nostalgic over Mega Man 2 on the NES? So you put it in a controller absolutely nobody played this game with? Like seriously, why a joystick? Why not something that at least resembles an NES controller? Plus, like I said, a lot of these only contain one game. This Space Invaders one, like seriously, is just Space Invaders. There have been so many other Space Invaders plug-and-plays before this, with multiple games. This one, just Space Invaders. And it's not even that accurate to the arcade version, it's the Famicom version. Who played the Famicom version? Double Dragon. I mean, I will give this the benefit of the doubt. The batteries might be in here a bit wobbly. See, that's a problem with a lot of these units. Graphical problems if the batteries aren't fully in or are starting to go. But God, this looks bad. And it's just Double Dragon 1 on the NES. If you have the joystick, why not have the arcade version instead or include it alongside this? WrestleMania, yeah, just the NES game in the same joystick. Why don't I hear anybody talk about how garbage this company is? But hey, I found this Pac-Man one at Walmart recently. It's actually pretty good. The design may not be the most comfortable, and sure, having the wires contained at the bottom with a lid may sound like a good idea, but just ends up making it more complicated to put away because now I have to cram all the wires back in and not lose the lid. But the stick and buttons feel pretty alright, and the game selection is pretty solid. It even includes the final level of Pac-Man where it's a full-on unbeatable glitch. It's sort of completely useless, but it's neat to be able to play it, as I'm sure most of us haven't gotten 256 levels into Pac-Man. I'm not a fan of having to do a combination of button presses to go back to the menu. I would have just preferred a menu button or something. But this is a solid newer plug-and-play. Of course, there are these Games products, the Blast units. They're wireless controllers connecting to HDMI dongles. A lot of people give Games what for since their quality isn't the greatest, but man, this is so much better than MSI. Who the hell wakes up and says, I'm okay with these existing?
Plug-and-plays were a product of the mid-2000s, and while they're still around, I don't necessarily ever seeing them become nearly as big. They somewhat had a resurgence after Nintendo kickstarted the mini classic console craze. Some people call these little systems plug-and-play. I retaliate with, look at all these plugs. See, on the surface, these things may seem nothing more than cheap toys with extremely basic games for children. That sentence was finished long ago. I do have a lot of great memories with these things, though. None of them were groundbreaking or anything, but they were fun, quick pick-me-ups. Even if the games were incredibly basic, many were actually designed quite well, and basing the gameplay off of old school arcade games or just offering old school arcade games to play, I think that gave a lot of young kids a greater appreciation of classic games. Of course, none of these I desperately want to go back to, and bring them back today doesn't work. I mean, these worked so well back in the mid-2000s because most TVs had composite inputs on the front. Now with HD TVs, if they even have composite inputs, they're on the back. And even then, plug and plays, most of the time, way more.
Hey Scott, Scott here. I'm recording this for you to open at a later date. I wanted to show you a glimpse of what you looked and acted like in the past. Like a f***ing dork!
Children. Oh man, I got a lot to say on this topic.
I have been legally advised to stop there.
We were all kids at one point, and our experiences as such helped shape who we are today, for better or for worse. Hey, there's a reason the kids who grew up with video games are still playing them now, and the kids who grew up with WB Kids are in jail now. So maybe if I try to catalog all of my video game experiences throughout my childhood, I can finally figure out how I ended up here.
That would be helpful.
This was me as a kid. White. No dark hair or glasses though, and I wasn't a Nintendo fan yet. And when you're that young, you didn't necessarily ask for most of the things you have. Your parents just get you things they think you might like until you form your own interests and tastes. So the first few games I owned and played happened to be anything my mom thought, oh, he's gonna love this. I was raised in a very particular way. This old Windows 98 gateway computer was my first foray into the video game sphere, with most of the titles my parents owned for being of the board gaming game show variety. To be fair, I'm not sure how many of these were bought specifically for me. I think a lot of the board game titles we had were also popular inclusions in cereal boxes as bonuses, so I assume that's how we got them. Ultimate Yahtzee, Sorry, The Game of Life, all games I remember distinctly seeing as I flipped through our PC game disc binder to play titles I cared about significantly more. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Second edition. Now this was my PC game. That wasn't my PC game. This was most certainly one my parents bought for themselves. I mean, it doesn't have a clean sweep on the age rating. But this was always a favorite of mine. I had a soft spot for how well this replicated the actual game show. The visuals and sounds genuinely made me feel like I was on the television program. Did I know the answers to any of the questions? Surprisingly, one. But it didn't matter. Trivia games were always exciting for me to play. I think because I was an only child, I appreciated them since these were experiences I could have with my parents. They understood the concept of a question, so what's keeping them from other games? We also had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Sports Edition, which I'd pop in from time to time for variety, but this wasn't mine in the family. I mean, yeah, you could probably assume that. Why should I clarify?
Wasn't me.
But a game that was all mine was One Disney Magic Artist Studio. This was a paint program with loads of 3D effects to sprinkle amongst your images, and I abused the hell out of it. It's one of those applications that you can just dick around with, and the animations and sound effects were entertaining enough to keep you engaged. You didn't have to be making anything in particular, it was just fun. I feel that programs like this don't get the credit they deserve. Many people who critically look at them go, this is so limited, or why not just use Photoshop? Man, this car sucks, buy an Audi. This type of software can really help kids express themselves creatively in simple and entertaining ways, or get them to realize they have passion in art. It's also a great stepping stone on the road to Photoshop, because show a caveman this. Will they know where the crop button is? To be fair, starting with Magic Artist Studio can make it more confusing.
Where's the worm tool?
I use this thing all the time, whether it was to actually make something or actually make something. But when it comes to actual video games I owned, these weren't. Living Books titles. Popular in the 90s, they were point-and-click adaptations of children's stories. I had Arthur's Reading Race and Arthur's Birthday, and this weird blotch on my neck that never went away. Guess which one stuck with me the most? Don't get me wrong, I do have positive memories of these games, but man, I had to dig for them. These are games of mine I played a fair amount, but forgot about for the longest time. And then, all of a sudden, you see a screenshot online that looks familiar, then immediately look up a YouTube video to confirm your suspicions. I f***ing played that! I definitely have nostalgia for these titles, and replaying them will invoke a sense of... But I'd be lying coming up with any legitimate memories or genuine thoughts then and now. These were games I played as a kid, and that's where it ends. And you know what? Might as well throw Tonka Search and Rescue in that pile. Listen, man, I feel bad because looking at these games, this rush of childhood memories are coming back, but they're only coming back in the form of the words remember, I, and that. I have a ton of fondness looking back at these, but there are other games I just had a stronger connection to. Which brings us to my very first video game console. I think many kids of the late 90s and early 2000s were in the same boat as me and were weaned on PC games before graduating to ruining Dad's Sunday. I viewed PC games more as once in a while why nots, probably due to having to ask my mom whenever I wanted to play on the computer. Hey, this was still during the era of the dial-up modem. When you're using the internet, you can't use the phone, so because of that, it's understandable why I was only allowed to use the computer during specific times. That and child endangerment. So that fateful day when I was being babysat by my cousins and one of them pulled out their old Sega Genesis and gave it to me, that's when video games went from a toy I'd play with every now and then to a weekly situation. I still wasn't playing them religiously, but getting that old hand-me-down Genesis made things a whole lot more legitimate. I was no longer just playing games on the computer when I was bored for 30 minutes every couple of weeks. I owned a video game console now. Things were changing fast. If there was gonna be a rapture, well, you know, I wasn't gonna be a part of it. My cousin included one game with his old system, that being Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, what the hell else would it be? Oh, you're throwing the crust in too? I remember playing the hell out of the first Sonic the Hedgehog level. The first level, I mean Green Hill Zone. When we get to the second Marble Zone, couldn't beat it. Now, you may be asking how I couldn't have possibly figured Marble Zone out.
Yes, I too wonder why 5-year-olds suck at things.
I tried and tried and tried and just could never get anywhere far in the stage. Now, since then, I have beaten Sonic 1 a couple of times, and I can see 5-year-old me, who only played Green Hill Zone over and over, wasn't missing out on much. That's where the game peaks, so I think I got what I wanted out of that experience at that age, and what an experience it was. This was a great first game. So bold and colorful with this giant world to explore featuring power-ups and secrets, different pathways to take, a dead simple control scheme of just run and jump. It was something any kid could handle, while also having so much more depth than I was used to with video games. Collecting 50 rings, making your way to the end of the stage and seeing that massive rotating ring, it was incredible. Then you try jumping it and you're brought to my first encounter with epilepsy. Everyone remembers their first. This was so awesome. I may not have gotten far in it as a kid, but sometimes that doesn't matter. What really matters is what you personally got out of something, especially when you're younger. So who cared if I didn't beat Sonic 1? I was doing more important things, like moving on to Sonic 2. A very distinct memory of mine is coming home from dinner with my parents and grandparents, but stopping at a record store on the way back that happened to have old video games. I could finally get more stuff for my Sega. Compared to the loose cartridge I got from my cousin, these had the whole protective cases and everything, which was awesome. I could finally spill my pudding and eggs and pasta salad and bleed all over my games and no harm, no foul. I saw Sonic 2. I had to get Sonic 2, considering Sonic 1 was one of the only video games I knew of at that moment. But my mom said I could pick up one other title, and I had to decide between Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures.
I learned more from that decision than I ever did in college.
I added Miss Pac-Man and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 to my collection that day because God has a plan. Miss Pac-Man on Genesis was a really solid rendition of the arcade game, which I was already a fan of. Anytime we went somewhere you could make a scene at, I wanted to play it. But to be honest, with how accessible games like Pac-Man are, I feel I wasted a pick on this one. I would receive a few plug-and-play arcade sticks in my day, and I definitely played Miss Pac-Man on this a whole lot more than on Genesis, which meant Sonic 2 was the apple of my eye at the time. I definitely got farther in this than in Sonic 1, the second part of the second level. At the time, it was hard to appreciate how much better of a game Sonic 2 was. I remember maybe liking it a bit more, probably because Chemical Plant Zone was way more fun than Marble Zone, but I still viewed games as toys, things to play with during playtime. Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 to me were like two dolls that were pretty much the same, so you just kind of stick your hand in the toy box and whatever you pull out, that's what you're playing today, except one is on fire. And that was it for my Sega Genesis experiences as a kid. It really made me realize how one decision can completely change your outlook on life. life. I definitely wish I spent more time with this platform and had more games for it, but I'm really grateful for having an experience with it at all. This solidified my respect for retro games. That alongside the NES rotting at my grandma's house. Yeah, whenever I'd go to her place, I'd head to the old TV in the den and fire up my cousin's Nintendo, stashed away there with a shoebox of old titles. Some of which included a title that always confused me: Jack Nicklaus's Greatest 18 Holes of Major Championship Golf.
Look at this f***er, eh?
One of those games I will always remember, even though I never played it. The cartridge's shiny silver label made it damn near unforgettable. It's about time I settled the score and see what I've been missing all these years.
Wow, the 19th hole!
Ninja Turtles 1 and 3 were here, right alongside Kung Fu Heroes, Excite Bike, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. I'm sure you can tell the kind of guy my cousin was.
Please tell me I haven't seen him in years.
While I dabbled in all of these, none captured my attention quite like Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, and Super Mario Bros. 3. I would play each one of these games every time I'd visit. So much to the point where my parents helped me replace the controllers by buying new ones on eBay for the thing. I think my mom noticed I was digging this kind of stuff, and while the computer, Genesis, and plug and play sufficed, it was time for an upgrade.
I have bad news. Your son is a gamer now.
For my birthday in 2002, I received a purple Game Boy Advance, my very first new game system. Now, considering the rest of my family lived an hour away from me, I think my parents knew I needed some backseat entertainment to get through the car rides every weekend. And after spitting milk in my lap fell through, I guess this was the next best option, and the game I got with it was SpongeBob SquarePants: Legend of the Lost Spatula for Game Boy Color. Let me tell you, as a kid, you're not always privy to what's considered a good game. Neither are your parents. And as a mother, I don't know why you'd buy your kid this anyways. So, back in the day, licensed games based on properties you already like were like lice.
I got him.
As a child, I liked SpongeBob. If you will, I was a SpongeBob a sponge a f***. That was my show. Everybody had their show, so don't go making fun of me when your show was goddamn skunk foo. I watched every episode, consumed everything I possibly could revolving around the franchise for the longest time, until that fateful day when I realized the show hadn't been good for years. But those early years, there ain't nothing like it. And hey, this game released during that era. In fact, it's the first SpongeBob game ever. Can you tell? Yeah, even back then, I could tell this was pretty rudimentary. It was hard to unconditionally love this thing simply due to being based on the show I watched when it was so dull and awkward. It's confusing as hell, too. It's oftentimes hard to know where to go and what to do. The game is non-linear in its design and revolves around exploring levels to find items to help us progress, which, hey, they could have just made this a SpongeBob calendar. Props to them for going above and beyond. All right, when do I start bitching again?
Well, if only they made this a SpongeBob calendar, I would know!
The screen is so zoomed in and SpongeBob jumps so high and stiff that it's beyond annoying to get anywhere, especially when so much of the level design revolves around platforms in the air off the screen. But the developers found a great method to teach players what to do here. They put various enemies in line with your jumping height off screen. That'll teach you to play our game. I never got far in this one as a kid. I honestly would only play it to mess around in some of the levels, maybe look at the main menu since it reminded me of the show. I may have played this a lot back in the day, but by that I mean I let it happen to me. Just a crummy little kid's game, that's all this is. It isn't unacceptable or egregious, it's just completely worthless if you aren't a 6-year-old SpongeBob fan in 2001. I was 5 in 2002.
Damn it!
Pretty interesting experience getting a Game Boy Color game as my first game on Game Boy Advance. Actually, come to think of it, I might have played around with the aspect ratio stretching feature more than the actual game here. But that's all the more reason to get an actual Game Boy Advance game. And one of my next titles just so happened to be Frogger's Adventures: Temple of the Frog. Strange this was one of my first GBA games, as I don't recall being much of a Frogger nut at that age, but hey, maybe I was a late bloomer. This era in gaming felt lucrative for these old school arcade mascots. I mean, simply judging by the fact this was one of my first games and considering how well it sold overall, I think a lot of parents were buying these for their kids because they recognize the names from back in the 80s. Oh, it's Gorf! They'll love Gorf! Temple of the Frog is actually a pretty natural evolution of the original Frogger arcade game, expanding it from one screen to sprawling levels. It ain't half bad. Now, what did 5-year-old Scott think?
He didn't.
Let's add another to the Scott barely even finished the first level but played this one a lot pile. I don't know what my problem was. It's goddamn Frogger. Well, thankfully, my next game was an entirely different story. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. The very first Mario game I could call my own, and what an entry to start things off with. Back then, I didn't think twice about this being a game from the 90s thrown onto the GBA. I just viewed it as a game. Well, why didn't I question the copyright date, or the back of the box here, or what the title meant? This was just a Mario game to me. And even if I didn't fully comprehend its origins, it didn't make me any less obsessed. I remember getting some Mario toys from a Wendy's kids meal back in 2002, one of them being this little action figure. I would tie a Kleenex around his neck to mimic the cape power-up. It just captured my imagination, unlike any game I played prior.
Yeah.
This was my go-to cartridge at the time, for more reasons than one. Literally! Included with many Mario games on the Game Boy Advance was a remake of the original Mario Brothers arcade game, which was bad. Sure, it's a classic, and we wouldn't have gotten Super Mario Brothers without Mario Brothers. Yeah, okay, well, the same logic applies to Big Kmart. The gameplay design here is solid, but man, the controls just butcher this one. Jumping in this is like, oh, I'm set! In this version, dubbed Mario Brothers Classic, we have actual controls. So smooth and fast-paced with beautiful new backgrounds, mechanics, 4-player multiplayer. This is Mario Brothers to me. This is fucked up. Ain't this essential during long car rides? Because as great as Super Mario World is, it's always a plus to have an endurance-based arcade game to hop over to for some variety. This was no doubt one of my favorite games. And you know what that means? I didn't beat it. I got stuck at this part in the Forest of Illusion. You beat a level and the map reveals what the hell does that mean? I wouldn't say this made me a die-hard Mario fan, but it for sure put the franchise on the map for me and locked in one of the greatest games of all time as an integral part of my childhood. It's seriously validating to see something that you enjoyed as a kid actually turned out to be one of the all-time greats. What's next on the list? Oh, thank God! Just because I had a Game Boy now didn't mean I stopped tinkering with the PC. Over there, I had another licensed SpongeBob title, this one being Employee of the Month. Man, I played this one so many times. It's a point-and-click adventure game, though I think calling this an adventure is pushing it, as well as game. You point and click here. This is about as interactive as QuickBooks. But considering the target demographic for this,
I'm stupid.
it makes sense how simple, straightforward, and short this one is. And to be fair, that made it ripe for replays. If I had an hour or two to kill on a lazy summer afternoon, I'd plowed through this because why not? Certain aspects always resonated with me. The sound effects, locations, items you collected, public nudity, all things you just remember as a kid. So replaying it today, while I definitely enjoyed myself, it wasn't because this was an ideal experience. Just goes to show how much nostalgia can affect your perception of things, which is perfectly fine. I think it's totally reasonable to like something just because you grew up with it. However, when you fail to see any flaws and can't comprehend why nobody else likes it,
Well, that's because you're right.
makes me scared to death to say anything bad about any horrible, stupid, fucking dumbass piece of garbage this game kind of game you might have grown up with. I don't want to offend you. Like, are there any defenders out there for Rugrats I Gotta Go Party, also known as Carpet Mice I Gotta Take a Mean Shit? This was another GBA game of mine based on yet another Nickelodeon property, and it's a party minigame collection. It's like watching food rot. Most of the minigames here are of the who gives a shit variety. In this game, we gotta pick the right thing. Pick the right thing? Pick the right thing. My God, just let me pick the wrong thing for once.
Well, I already chose this game!
This features some of the most basic ideas for games imaginable, now with a Rugrats skin. And when things actually get a little more creative, you realize how much they directly ripped off Mario Party minigames. And when things are actually completely original, absolute time waster. That's all this was. Not bad, but not substantial whatsoever. It's something for your thumbs to do, the game. Much like I Spy Challenger, another childhood game of mine I damn near blew a gasket trying to remember.
Oh, yeah.
Completely forgot I owned this, but after replaying it, Yep, it's all coming back to me. This was based on the I Spy books, which were always a treat to peruse. And one problem, they don't work with the B button. That's where Challenger comes in. A couple modes are included, which mostly boil down to actual I Spy or matching-based puzzle games. But once again, we have a game I played a lot, but only when I was depressed enough to do so. Car Ride Fodder Man, which I guess Pac-Man Collection sort of falls into that category as well. I got 4 Pac-Man games here. Pac-Men, if you will. The original Pac-Man, which I was more than familiar with at this point, but also Pac-Man Arrangement, Pac-Mania, and Pac-Attack, which were entirely new experiences for me. I got a fair amount of playtime out of every title on display here. Though, looking back, I definitely would have preferred getting Namco Museum here instead. I mean, that had Miss Pac-Man, plus a handful of other Namco arcade games I liked, which was definitely better variety than 4 Men. But I still got a lot out of this collection, mostly from Pac-Man Arrangement, basically a new take on the original game with some stage gimmicks and Kinky the Ghost. Definitely makes it way more engaging, especially for a kid. But what sealed the deal for me was the Unlimited Continues, made for an unforgettable night at my grandma's house where I played this one for hours. It was legendary, which is more than I can say about Pac-Attack. I would try this from time to time, but I never understood it all too well. A Pac-Man puzzle game, but of course at the time, I don't think I knew what puzzle games were, so I think I mainly played this when I needed to humble myself a bit. Pac-Mania, Pac-Manic Syndrome. I liked this one because it was 3D and Pac-Man could jump. What did you like as a kid? If we're talking Desert Island games again, would you? Jimmy Neutron versus Jimmy Negatron. Watch how you say that. This was a sequel to the game based on the original movie, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, though this one is based on the show titled The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which, based on all existing logos of this game, it is fair to consider this the official title, though official press releases refer to it otherwise. So what's the legal name for this game? Well, let's sue to find out. Oh, and I got nowhere in this one, and for good reason. While these games weren't anything special, I still popped them in from time to time because I legitimately had the urge to play them. This game, I only ever really put in to see my Game Boy run a 3D looking thing. I would play for 10 minutes and then react accordingly. Wow, this looks cool. Other than that, I have genuinely no memories with this thing, which is insane. I mean, I remember more about the PC version of this game, which I didn't own. I just played the demo for it included with Employee of the Month. I honestly got a better Jimmy Neutron kick over there with that, plus Nickelodeon Toon Twister 3D. A little application with 3D models of Nickelodeon characters you can manipulate to create your own cartoon, and listen, this was a big deal for me back then. I could realize some of my wildest dreams with this thing.
Hi there, Carl.
I can't stop!
Do you smell it?
I loved fiddling around with this, kind of like how I felt with Disney Magic Artist Studio. Though this one, the joy came from creating the Rugrats episode I always wanted.
Hi there, Carl.
Do you smell it?
Between the computer, my GBA, and rotting Sega Genesis, I definitely had enough to keep me busy, but not a ton of genuine gaming experiences were had. Outside of a few key titles, the kind of games I was playing.
Is that pissing my pants, or am I just embarrassed?
Thus, it was time for something new. For my birthday in 2003, I received a brand new home console, the Nintendo GameCube Platinum Edition. I had no goddamn clue what this was. I mean, to be fair, the name did a good job explaining it.
It's a shape!
I didn't ask for this, so I assume my mom pulled a mom in a toy store and was, in fact, a mom in a toy store. Walk up to clerk, explain you have a son who's turning 6. He has a Game Boy, but that's it. Well, I will point you in the direction of the Nintendo GameCube. It's the cheapest console on the market, it's kid-friendly, and with an adapter, you can play your Game Boy games on it too. Because there is no way in hell she would have gotten this for me if that wasn't the case. Yep, alongside the GameCube, the only game I got with it was the Game Boy Player, which did ensure I had a beefy library of games to play here right from the get-go. By that I mean, I feel this is more beef than game. Game Boy Player was an awesome contraption, but as my only GameCube game for a bit there, it definitely made for an odd first impression. Like, the only reason I'd play this console for a while there was to understand the concept of unnecessary. Still really liked this, though it was definitely something I used just for the sake of switching things up back then. I needed a game made for the GameCube to really get the most out of this console, for an experience I couldn't have already. So one day at Toys R Us, I had the opportunity to get an actual GameCube game.
Oh, and I got this new book!
My first genuine GameCube game was Sonic Mega Collection. I remember picking it up at the store and my mom suggesting it based on the other Sonic games I had. I don't think she or I realized this was those other Sonic games I had, but there were some others thrown in here, so not all was lost.
Yep, not all was lost. My integrity, my mind, my
Well, I still had my Genesis. Oddly enough, I'd still hop between these two systems, playing Sonic 1 and 2 on either or. I guess I was just happy using a different controller. But oftentimes, I wouldn't even really play Sonic Mega Collection. I would just boot it up and look through all the extras, specifically the comic book covers. Many of these are etched into my mind forever. It was really cool to see all the different interpretations of Sonic here. And the music backing these menus was incredible. It was like I was walking down memory lane without ever even experiencing these prior. I was a big bonus features kid. I love behind the scenes tidbits, and this collection not only wet my whistle, it fucking drenched it. But what about the games included? Well, this was my first experience with Sonic 3, Knuckles, Spinball, 3D Blast, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I never got far in any of these, but I messed around with them a fair bit, though I didn't unlock any of the hidden games. Yep, that's one less childhood with Flicky in it.
Did my parents care?
But I had more than enough fun dicking around with these from time to time. Though that's all I really did. I had no idea what I was doing in Spinball, 3D Blast, or Mean Bean Machine. Sonic and Knuckles, I barely ever progressed in, and Sonic 3, I never beat the first level, so more often than not, I would head on over to the extras. The video section was cool. It made me realize there were actual video games available on this console. Whoa, 3D graphics! That Sonic Adventure 2 game promo looked incredible! So, when it was time for me to get a new GameCube game, I picked up, take a wild damn guess, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Yet another licensed game. Yet another Nickelodeon game. Yet another SpongeBob game. I bet you're saying, I predict the next game he owned was Suikoden 5. Well, Battle for Bikini Bottom really spoke to me, as it had SpongeBob on the front. I think I just saw a SpongeBob thing, I wanted a SpongeBob thing, but by God, out of all SpongeBob things, this was the SpongeBob thing. Behold, Scott's greatest accomplishment, convincing his mom to buy this for him. Because I genuinely could not imagine my childhood without this game. I know that sounds silly about this, especially considering how the other SpongeBob games I've played weren't all too great, but this was special. A 3D platformer, not unlike Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, but this was SpongeBob. This was SpongeBob's world. I was transported into my favorite show as a kid, which I think emphasizes how important licensed games can be if done properly. The levels here were so big and lovingly crafted to be incredibly faithful interpretations of locations from the source material. I remember exploring SpongeBob's house and neighborhood by themselves for hours, voicing the characters to craft my own cartoon in real time. I would pop a blank VHS tape into the VCR, hook up my GameCube, and record everything, trying to control the game smoothly enough and not skip cutscenes so I would have my own little SpongeBob episode. This was the perfect game for a SpongeBob fan in the 2000s, and a good game in its own right. Like I said, it's pretty much Mario 64, but SpongeBob. Golden spatulas are linked to various objectives throughout an area. Do them to progress throughout the game. Pretty simple, but very effective execution. There's a reason anybody born in 1997 won't shut the hell up about this game, though they really should sometimes. I've seen fellow lovers of this game beg others to give it a try, others being people who barely ever watched the show and were 40 years old. Why bother with that request? Just cut to the chase and ask him to tell you this thing you love sucks. When this game got a remake in 2020, a whole lot of people went, I don't get it. And I understand where they're coming from, but also not at the same time. On one hand, this game isn't anything groundbreaking. It's a clone of Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. However, that hasn't stopped other games from being lauded. To expect anything more out of this game than what it is, a solid 3D platformer for kids based on SpongeBob, well, I think that's on you, not the game. I have heard some fans say this is one of the greatest games of all time, and I would agree. When I was 6, I wouldn't say it's aged poorly at all. Rather, what made this so amazing at the time was experiencing it as a kid. Nowadays, it's easy to see a good kids game, harder to see anything more than that, especially if you didn't play it back then. But come on, it's fully voiced with colorful, detailed visuals, great fitting music, solid level design, controls, a good length. How can you look at this and think it's just another licensed kids game from the 2000s? Like, am I insane? I've always thought this looked leagues better than similar titles at the time. The boss fights, man, the epic music is etched into my mind, especially the final one. Seriously, one of the coolest last levels out there. You defeat the giant robot SpongeBob, then go inside him for a mix of a platforming gauntlet and ultimate showdown, with the very last bit asking you to use your homing cruise bubble missile attack to destroy these 3 units of the robot's brain. This is so damn cool. I would boot the game up just to replay the final boss constantly. Though this was something that always bugged me. You couldn't replay like any of the other objectives. Once you beat the game, there's nothing for you to do when you return to these areas. Though that did encourage me to make my own fun by running around. This game changed me, man. It got me to pick up my first memory card. For a few weeks there, I would just play the opening bit over and over again without saving. It got me to try 100%ing a game back then. I nabbed 93 out of the 100 golden spatulas and maxed out my currency to the point where when I would collect more, no sound effects would play. It got me to bring a video game instruction manual to school to thumb through as a book.
It got me punched in the face.
And it got me to beg for the same damn game 3 times in a row. Yes, of course I had to get Battle for Bikini Bottom for PC as well. I just love this game so much. I just had to play it there and there. You know, that's good enough. Now, PC versions of console games are normally the same deal, but that's not the case for titles aimed at children. This is a completely different experience. I guess a lot of kids were in the same boat as me when it came to their relationship with the PC. It's one of your first gaming experiences, and it's on what dad doesn't do his taxes on. You're probably not gonna have the motor skills to control a game like this with a keyboard and mouse, let alone own a USB game controller. So it just made sense for this to be a completely different point-and-click minigame collection.
I mean, this was how I learned what wisdom was.
This thing reuses nearly all of its assets from Employee of the Month, thank God. But it's now a mini-game collection based around pointing and clicking with the mouse. I mean, the general premise is the same as the console game, but that's it. Robots have overtaken Bikini Bottom, but you sure as hell wouldn't know that by playing it. These games all feel so disconnected. It's just a bunch of random ideas loosely tied together via SpongeBob trying to find his friends and save the city. But does this minigame make me feel like I'm doing a damn thing to save the city? Feels like I'm doing SpongeBob's laundry. This was probably either developed as a completely different game that got a reskin to fit the theme of the console game, or was cobbled together right quick to get a PC SKU of the game out in time. Either way, much like Employee of the Month, I played this a ton. And I do appreciate how this was different from what came before and the console game, and as basic as these minigames were, they kept my attention, though I feel the sound effects played a massive role in my satisfaction here. There's just something so pleasing about it all. It's hard to explain. But what's even harder to explain is the third goddamn version of this game I owned. Battle for Bikini Bottom on Game Boy Advance. For some reason, when I got this game, I envisioned it being the PC game running on my Game Boy. The thought of playing this in the car? Oh, but when I finally popped it in, I learned a valuable lesson that day.
I should take a bath.
Yeah, this is just a pretty basic 2D platformer. I played it, but it was never a huge favorite of mine. Honestly, my greatest memory with this was inputting random things on the password screen when I was bored and guessing the code for the final boss. That was one of my finest moments as a user of Skin. I'm naming my kid this. Now, around this era of my childhood, I recall really harnessing my creativity like never before and truly making something. Friends. Now, back then, making friends was smooth sailing. All you had to do was look at somebody funny and boom, you got an invite to their birthday. And because of that, I got a lot of experience gawking at other kids' game consoles. It was like stepping into an alternate reality. This was how I thought games were played these days, so to see my peers had this instead.
How does that work?
You're a kid, you own a GameCube. I thought it was pretty straightforward. But no, one of my neighbors had a PlayStation 2 and showed me how a PlayStation 2 owner gets done. They own Shrek 2, Shrek Super Party, Rugrats Royal Ransom, and they live right next to me.
An Xbox owner could never.
I remember fiddling around with these at their house, but they never left a huge impression. And that was because they had one other game. Fucking Christ, Scott. Yes, a SpongeBob game I didn't own Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. No joke, what sold me on this one was the fact it played the full intro to the show. They didn't alter a damn thing. It's ripped right from it. Battle for Bikini Bottom had a cover version of the theme playing during this basic-ass title screen, and from what I played, exploring Bikini Bottom was far more traditional in this game compared to Battle. That one had a bit of destruction caused by the robot outbreak, so what really appealed to me about Revenge of the Flying Dutchman was that it felt like the most true-to-form interpretation of the series. It had the opening, it had the default world. Oh, I really wanted this one for myself. But I guess around this time, the console version was a bit too old to actively find at retailers. It was a 2002 baby, and the difference in quality between 2002 PlayStation 2 games and 2003 ones is staggering. Yeah, babies had a slump that year, so they probably just weren't stocking it anymore, but that wasn't the case for the Game Boy Advance version. Oh, son of a bitch. It turns out Battle for Bikini Bottom on GBA was a follow-up to this game, and by God do I wish it wasn't. I never liked how SpongeBob looked in these titles. He looks fucking gross. Kinda bootleg, honestly. These games were both pretty interchangeable to me. I didn't dislike them, but they sure as hell weren't a part of my daily regimen. I missed a Tuesday somewhere. But listen, while you can infer a lot from my thoughts on these two games, f them. You can't assume I wasn't a fan of two games built from the same assets, because for Christmas 2004, my grandma got me the SpongeBob SquarePants movie video game for GameCube. This reused damn near everything from Battle for Bikini Bottom on consoles, but switched things up to make this a unique and fresh experience. And now we only have 2 playable characters. A much more linear experience here, featuring less exploration than Battle. And that, plus the world's being based on one 90-minute movie compared to seasons upon seasons worth of a show, that made this definitely less interesting than what came before for me. But this was still a great time. It had better gameplay variety with driving levels, slide levels, you could upgrade your attack moves, the boss fights, once again, were stellar. I just loved replaying them. They were so exciting. The unlockables were so rewarding. Like, damn, I earned this. And I think the atmosphere throughout is phenomenal. The ice cream parlor, the rocky desert side, the apocalyptic Bikini Bottom, this trench. I mean, I have never gotten my trench fix like I do from this game. I definitely played Battle for Bikini Bottom more, but it was probably like 60-40. I think the movie game was fun to play as a straightforward video game with cool levels and platforming challenges, but Battle was definitely a better, more fleshed out package overall. I mean, so much of the movie game's content is padded out with repeat what you just did, but now go through rings. But as a kid, this stuff never fazed me. Then next year for my birthday, I finally got a Game Boy Advance game I didn't have to create a PowerPoint to justify. Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3. Yeah, it's about time I got another actual video game, and it was quite a fitting one considering my history with Super Mario World. And man, never before had I played a game so lively. As much as I loved Mario World, this is the most video game-ass video game. You ain't fooling anybody here.
It's real.
Yoshi's Island feels like you're peering into another dimension where all of this is going on. How the enemies move, how you can interact with the environment, the animations and character voices. It all came together to create a game unlike anything I had ever played before, yet all while feeling like a natural follow-up to Super Mario World. I was pretty damn happy with these two as my Mario games on the handheld, though I do wish I had the others as well, especially Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. And when I saw that game was a thing, this was when I was starting to put 2 and 2 together. Oh, that's the game I play at my grandma's! I think I was finally starting to get a clue on how these video games worked, so naturally, I became far more reasonable with the games I asked for. Eventually, the SpongeBob movie game for Game Boy Advance. Another birthday present in 05. Listen, all I remember about this one was that it wasn't too bad. It was actually a pretty quality time. Quality enough to remember anything about this game?
What game?
I don't know. This one just didn't stick with me as much, even though at the time, I could tell how much better this was than the previous GBA games. I think I was just growing up. I wasn't as enthusiastic about something just because it had SpongeBob on it. I was forming more of my own opinions, my own tastes, and no time was that more apparent than when I finally found this piece of shit. Yeah, I remember going to an EB Games and found a used copy of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman for GameCube. Oh my God, I can have it all to myself! Where's the intro? But where's the intro? That's half the goddamn reason I wanted this game! So, the GameCube discs couldn't possibly fit such a meaty video file on them. I mean, 45 seconds of footage? Nah, man, have you seen this game? We can't fit that. It's already bursting at the seams. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman is one of the emptiest feeling games I've ever played. Every area feels like an ominous ghost town. Oftentimes, there's no music. All you hear is the ambience of the ocean floor, and it's honestly creepy. But when there is music, it's linked to one of the 4 costumes you can wear, not the area you're in. So it's like, oh yeah, the entire world is crumbling around me and death is imminent. So this is a real basic 3D platformer that's just so awkward and slow and weird. I mean, it genuinely feels like they put out the rough draft rather than the finished project. Like, what is this font? What are these menus? What is this glide move? What, SpongeBob flaps like a bird? Look at these visuals. Look at these physics. Oh my God, I finally figured it out. This is what a bad video game is. I spent goddamn hours as a kid delivering food in downtown Bikini Bottom, where every street looks the same and you get exact addresses you have to find yourself. Like, dude, the target demographic for your game is womb fresh. They're not gonna want this, nor do they understand it. The rest of the game is so unremarkable, it's honestly remarkable. Most people at this point would throw in the towel. They'd say, yep, this game is bad. I'm not wasting my time on it. Yeah, I played this one a lot, right after I gained standards too. I knew this game was junk at the time, but there was something about it that just drew me back to it time and time again. Just kind of that comfort food guilty pleasure of mine. I think I was just always entranced by this game's early GameCube and PS2 energy. Its unintentional, strange, ominous feeling. While it wasn't good, it also wasn't unplayable, and I would pop it in more often than I'd care to admit. But my God, did owning this make me envious of PS2 owners? I mean, you compare the two here, and I was coming out looking rough. Now, that would be the last thing I would say out loud.
Well, then I better get started.
I think that was because I was coming down with that console war fever. You're gonna defend your thing because the idea of you having the inferior thing? Wow, Mr. Negative over here.
I'm not being negative, I just own a GameCube.
As much as I would scoff at my friends' PlayStation 2s, I was secretly very envious. And that envy bubbled up so much that it had to be released. And with my next hand-me-down get, it did exactly that. Turned out that was an ulcer. One of my other cousins ended up giving me his PlayStation 1 alongside 2 discs, Gran Turismo 2, disc 1, and Rascal demo. Well, damn, why did my cousin stop there? He could have thrown in a bloody nose. Suffice to say, I didn't use my PS1 much. I messed around with playing audio CDs on it. Recall playing Rascal maybe twice. You know how they say these are the best years of your life?
Yeah, they just say that to make Rascal feel better.
Gran Turismo, I played for probably 5 minutes. It left no impression on me. It didn't get me into the series, didn't get me to watch the movie. I couldn't care less because quite frankly, I had the only racing game worth a damn over on my Game Boy. Mario Kart Super Circuit, my first Mario Kart. I recalled seeing my cousins play something like this on their Nintendo 64. Damn, what was it? But this was all mine, and easily one of my favorite GBA games. I mean, this looked so damn similar to that N64 game my cousins played. It was like a console game to go. And the fact that it was Mario Kart, pure and simple fun, infinitely replayable, that made it a no-brainer pick for car rides. The cartridge was lost at my uncle's house. If that upsets you, he lost it, not me. Out of all games to lose, I couldn't have lost Nicktoons Freeze Frame Frenzy instead?
No, but I could lose my
Okay, so this was probably one of the most genetically engineered by the marketing machine games I owned. It's a Nicktoons photography game.
They just made this because Nickelodeon photography games were all the rage back then.
Okay, what I mean by the marketing machine is how this just feels like a weird damn product. Like they just wanted to whip up a quick game with all the Nickelodeon characters on the cover, and this was one of the fastest options. And the strangest thing about this is it's not that bad. It's like Pokemon Snap. But this one has more of like a fucking Tommy Pickles sort of vibe. Keep an eye out for certain things to take pictures of. Definitely made for a unique experience on the GBA, but one that felt like a forced concept with these characters. Most of them I'm not sure have canonically even held a camera, which makes me severely question the market for this game.
Just SpongeBob with a camera, man. I love that shit.
As halfway decent as this game actually was, it always felt kinda cheap to me. Like this wasn't a true crossover. These were soulless husks, not the real characters. And the box art just has a bunch of them photoshopped together within that template all the Nickelodeon video releases had for a while there. Nothing screams "this matters" more than Impact font.
No. That's papyrus.
Well, if anything, Freeze Frame Frenzy proved to me how much I enjoyed exploring the world of other cartoons I watched, which led to my next GameCube game. I'll talk about this one next, how about that? The Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules. One of my other favorite shows on Nickelodeon, though I remember watching it more often than not just because it was on, not because I desperately needed to catch every episode. But I still enjoyed it quite a bit, enough to warrant owning a video game based on the property, obviously. And this, it adequately did the job it needed to do. Now, does that make it a good video game?
Well, I did my job today. Does that make me a good person?
Listen, I loved the variety of locations in this game, all based on episodes from the show, but the core gameplay here was just a typical 3D platformer that honestly was a bit more boring than fun most of the time. It wasn't bad, just pretty damn basic and bland. And the only thing that sets this apart from any other kids game was the fact this was the Fairly Odd Parents, and hey, it did that aspect fairly well. They converted one of the flattest fucking cartoons I've ever seen into a fully 3D world, and nearly every review I've seen of this game commented on how they could have done this better. Man, the first wheel is pretty rough. Let me tell you how I would have done it. Considering this was 2003 and they had to turn this into a 3D model, I think they did pretty good, all things considered. Regardless, I think a 2D game would fit the show a lot more, which is where Breaking the Rules for Game Boy Advance comes in. I owned this game.
Oh, memories.
Yeah, this is another one of those I forgot about for the longest time. Shooting frogs. Oh, well, now I remember why I blocked this from my memory. Around this time, I received the fully redesigned Flame Red Game Boy Advance SP, and now featuring a lit screen. Oh, that's what I've been playing? And one of my final GBA games, The Simpsons Road Rage. These days, I fully understand this game being a ripoff of Sega's Crazy Taxi series. In 2005, I just didn't understand it. So you pick up people and drop them off where they want as quickly as possible for the best kind of cash, but I didn't know that back then. I considered this more so a replacement for my missing Mario Kart cartridge, which made the main mode confusing as hell for me, so I always opted to select Sunday Drive. Yep, that's all I did in this game. Drive. Nowhere in particular, I would just roam around until I got bored. Now that's enough of that. And those were my Game Boy Advance games. Now I did own a few GBA video cartridges,
Much like how Vlad the Impaler killed a few people.
but these were my games. And wow, I did not get as much out of this thing as I thought I did. Most of these left no impression on me. The few that did really did, and completely solidified the GBA as one of my core toys as a kid. But the GameCube games I owned were far less forgettable. And the next one up was SpongeBob SquarePants Lights Camera Pants. THQ was pumping out a new SpongeBob console game every single year. And believe me, I was paying attention. This was my Madden. But hey, that meant they had to be working on multiple projects at once, so instead of being helmed by the Battle for Bikini Bottom team, this was a THQ Studio Australia joint, and was advertised as the first multiplayer SpongeBob game ever. Did I take advantage of this feature? Sure. Yes, the only child with barely any other kids in his neighborhood had a Mario Party style game, and he played it by himself a lot. Oh my god, your sympathy tastes so good! While I did wish I had others to play this with, I still had a blast here. Over time, I've grown more and more impressed with Lights Camera Pants. Like, the basis of this game revolves around everybody wanting to be cast in a Mermaid Man episode, and the minigames are auditions, with your reward for winning a block of them being your character nabbing the role and appearing in a scene. There's versions of every scene with each playable character in the guest role. It's genuinely a fantastic idea for a party game, and really makes this more than just a Mario Party clone. Couple that with how the minigames themselves are actually really fun, and we may have... Wait, let him finish. Biggest problems with this game are the load times and the amount of minigames. Only about 30, which pales in comparison to other party games. But did 2005 Scott know that? All he knew was isolation. This was all good fun, and I appreciate this game a ton. But obviously, I was more of a single-player guy. And come 2006, the next SpongeBob game was looking to be the best yet. SpongeBob SquarePants Creature from the Krusty Krab. I fucking hated this game. The advertisements and box art really got me excited. This looked so ambitious. Like, damn. I get to wreak havoc as a giant plankton? And I get to take down the monster as SpongeBob in a plane? Well, that's all the advertising really showed, but the concept was so badass. And when I saw more of the game, I mean, this looks like Battle for Bikini Bottom. This is gonna be great. I fucking hated this game. Back in the day, if asked what my least favorite game of all time was, this was my immediate response. I mean, first off, this game looks ugly as hell. It uses some assets from previous games, but the animation is atrocious here. This is how SpongeBob talks throughout the whole game. They sort of just stretch his lips randomly. Then they try to do these different art styles, and it's fucking nasty. The first level is a racing segment. You're not racing anybody in particular, you're just trying to get to the end. And this goes on for 5 minutes. Then we have a platforming segment that goes on for 30 damn minutes, and is one of the most grueling experiences I had as a kid. It just goes on and on and on. They just keep having you do the same thing over and over again. Hey, fight this enemy, then fight the same enemy again and again and again. This stage feels like it never ends. It's so basic and simple, yet it takes forever to get through because they have you do something and then repeat it like 3 more times. And for a licensed kids game like this, I could look the other way if they at least put you in a cool location from the property like the Fairly Odd Parents game. No, we're in this hot rod world that has nothing to do with SpongeBob. It's not interesting to explore. It doesn't feel like I'm in the show. There's nothing satisfying here. Doesn't help the controls are way floatier and less responsive than Battle for Bikini Bottom. They aren't bad, but they don't feel as tactile. They went for goofier animations, which I guess fits the property, but damn, it doesn't feel great. And the rest of the game has the same exact problems throughout. There's 8 more stages, and none of them feel the greatest to control. They all go on for far too long. This game genuinely frustrated the hell out of me back then, and especially now. Not because it's difficult, it just feels like it loves to waste your time repeating gameplay that already wasn't great to begin with. When it's all said and done, Creature from the Krusty Krab has a few platforming stages, a few vehicle-based ones, and a level based around destroying Bikini Bottom as a giant plankton, which is the best part of the game, which doesn't mean it also isn't way too fucking bullshit long. It's a damn minigame collection where the minigames are artificially lengthened to 30 minutes long a piece, and there's like 5 unique ones. Really bummed me out because the concept here is pretty damn good. Hopping between 3 characters' dreams with them all eventually colliding. But instead of taking advantage of the idea, it feels like the developers used it as an excuse to half-ass everything. Create a game where it's just a hodgepodge of random shit. And the cherry on top of everything was how after I beat everything as a kid, the GameCube version's ending has no audio. I remember saying, screw it, I'll give the cutscene some sound. This isn't the worst game out there, but it genuinely upset me. This was such a huge step back from previous SpongeBob games, and that hurt 10 times more considering how there were some decent ideas here. But none of that mattered because it's obvious this was rushed and unpolished. All definitely just to meet the Wii's launch in 2006. Apparently Nintendo approached THQ about a SpongeBob game for the platform, so they went to the developer of Breakin' the Rules to do it. Why? I liked Breakin' the Rules, but I wouldn't trust my firstborn with it. Well, this developer was obviously quite busy at the time because they also put out a sequel to Breakin' the Rules in 2004, The Fairly Odd Parents Shadow Showdown, another one I owned. But to be honest, this just didn't leave the same impression the prior game did for me, which is unfortunate because I can tell this is a superior title. It's more fleshed out and polished, but I just wasn't as into this as the first one. The story was definitely more original compared to Breakin' the Rules, which was more each level based on an episode. But I kinda liked that. I didn't want fan fiction. Who the hell are these characters?
Somebody's favorite.
Well, one of the last GameCube games I got from my parents wasn't Nickelodeon based, but still published by THQ. That being Cars, the video game. Suddenly all those family vacations are making sense. I liked the movie well enough, but it definitely wasn't on the same level as the other Pixar films. I mean, it was 2 damn hours long, and for what? A race car that learns there's more to life than the big time? Honey, that isn't a film's plot, that's a haiku. Well, at least when it comes to the game, I wouldn't say I played it, more so used it. I don't think I completed a single thing here. I just like driving around the world. A distinct memory of mine was my mom coming in to watch me play this game and commenting how game's graphics have gotten crazy lately. To Cars the video game. I mean, sure, if you've never seen orange juice before, it's gonna catch you off guard. And yep, this was my core GameCube collection for a while there. I picked up a few more titles later down the line, but these made up the main lineup for me. Didn't think this would be a sob story now, did ya? Okay, so I hold the memories I experienced with these games close to my heart, but even I have to stand back and ask what the hell was going on here. I definitely went too deep in my comfort zone with this library, picking games that look familiar rather than good. But most of these games still offered quality enough experiences. Most of them, most games, not bullshit. I never said bullshit. And I'm always going to look back at these fondly. Do I ever have to play them again? No. But I have so much respect for these games. They may not have been perfect, but they were integral to my childhood. I love playing these over and over again, just exploring the worlds I love to watch in movies and TV shows. They really helped to broaden my imagination in that way. It made me feel as if I was in my favorite cartoons. And that was something I wouldn't trade for the world.
I gotta shut the up sometimes.
We've officially entered the intermission in my video gaming years. From 2006 to 2007, I was sort of just coasting along with what I had. That didn't mean I wasn't getting new games, rather I was getting them when I saw them at Big Lots or GameStop for like $5. Like Operation Krabby Patty and the SpongeBob movie on PC. These really weren't anything to write home about, especially Operation Krabby Patty. Well, outside of the cutscenes.
No, where am I gonna get that kind of money?
Prepare the bubble cannon, SpongeBob! They're after me money!
I was at my cousin's house playing his PlayStation 2. I recall he had Need for Speed Most Wanted, which was fun, but I was absolutely drawn to Pac-Man World 2. So much so that when I told him I owned a PlayStation 1, he lent me the game, assuming it would work on the thing.
Got my cousin quality's going downhill.
No matter how hard I tried, I wasn't getting any use out of this damn PS1. And believe me, I tried. And in no time did I try harder than when I got my one and only PlayStation game as a gift. Now, you may be asking, what game might that be? Well, there's only one SpongeBob game on it. SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge. This was not only a birthday present, but one from a friend. And when you get a video game from somebody other than your parents, I mean, that's a big deal. I remember seeing a friend have this game over at their house and really wanted it, considering I actually had a PS1. Though asking for a game on that console in the mid-2000s, that's a bit tricky. That's like asking for not bubonic plague in 1350. So I don't know where they found it. But after so many years, I think I finally know. Oh! Best way to describe this game is just kinda lame. I wanna go as far as saying it's really fucking bad. I just say it's really bad. There's nothing to this. Other games I had as a kid, when I pop them in again, I can't wait to do certain things. They just left such an impact on me, even if the game itself wasn't all too great. Super Sponge? There's not a single damn thing I want to re-experience. This is such a basic and bland 2D platformer that just doesn't do anything interesting or unique or cool. I remember this was a last resort for me back then.
Fine, I'll eat my leg.
Only pop in when you genuinely have nothing better to do. It may not have frustrated me back then, but it just felt like a waste of time. And that was my PlayStation 1 library. Couldn't live without it.
Much like how I can't live without arsenic.
Would have gotten more use out of this thing if the damn PS2 game worked on it. Well, thankfully, I eventually found Pac-Man World 2 for the GameCube at a GameStop for $5. Finally, no need for my cousin anymore. This game just made me happy. I never got far in it, but that's not what it was about. It was about the bouncy, jolly-ass atmosphere. The controls were just plain fun to use, and it was simply well designed. I always considered this to be a solid evolution of the original Pac-Man. If you had to turn this into a big 3D platforming world, this is how you do it. I can pop this in whenever and have a grand old time, and because of that, I do question why I never got far here. I really only ever played a bit past the first boss. I think a good chunk of my memories came from playing it over at my cousin's. Then when I got it for myself, I think most of the satisfaction came from me finally owning it rather than, oh yeah, this is all I'm gonna fucking do from now on. With that being said, I will always have a soft spot for Pac-Man World 2. Whatever this game would do, you know I'd support it.
Damn it.
Now, something I had always wanted to dabble in was the fabled game trade. Your friend has a game, you have a friend, and you agree to swap games. I wanted this so bad, I practically begged one of my friends to do it. He owned Mario Kart Double Dash, which we played a ton during sleepovers. I adored what I played, especially the battle mode. I was desperate to own that myself, but he refused to trade it with me. Hell, not even let me buy it off of him because he didn't want any of my games. Why? But one game he was willing to part with for a crisp $10 was Super Mario Sunshine. You know, I was excited before realizing one of the games he owned at the time was Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island. Why did he want to get rid of this one? Maybe it's because Mario Sunshine is a bit of an acquired taste, like wine or benzene. I really wanted this because I loved the Mario games on the NES, my Game Boy. I recall trying out a Super Mario game on Nintendo 64 I liked. Damn it, I'm bad with names. And I was getting pretty tired of not having any actual video games for my GameCube. Hell, even Pac-Man World 2. Nowadays, if you bring up how you like that game, why even bother? Just say you were born in 1997. That's just as effective. It's like you'd only care about the games I owned if you were a genuine child in that era. And I was ready to experience a real game. Mario Sunshine was another I didn't get too awful far in, but I still loved what I played. Much like Pac-Man World 2, it was just plain fun to control. Using FLUDD to clean up all the sludge was so satisfying. Jumping about and running around felt good. And thankfully, I didn't get far enough in here to realize why Mario Sunshine is an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's not great.
But this proved to me I was missing out on a ton with the lifestyle I chose for myself. There's a world beyond licensed games, you know? And if it's half the quality of Super Mario Sunshine, well, that's a world worth living in. And I think the game I didn't have that sounded the most appealing to me was Grand Theft Auto. The concept behind being able to do whatever you want in this giant, realistic city boggled my mind. I viewed this as the game to end all games. Why would you play anything else?
I don't know.
Listen, man, I'm not even sure what my parents' stance on M-rated games were because I was too goddamn scared to ask. I knew this stuff wasn't for me. I knew I couldn't buy these myself without the cashier fucking exploding. I don't know. I didn't want to risk it. I never asked for anything like this because I just always assumed the answer would have been no. Which is why, one day at GameStop, I picked up 2 used GameCube games. One specifically to scratch that GTA itch, The Simpsons Hit and Run. Rated T for Thank God I'm 9. While Road Rage copied Crazy Taxi, Hit and Run copied GTA. It's pretty wild how all Simpsons games that released in this generation were blatant ripoffs of other titles. That didn't make Hit and Run a bad game. It made Simpsons skateboarding one. But this was an excellent time, especially if you were a fan of the show. Though I think you can definitely get a lot out of this one on its own. I loved dicking around in this game. It was a great blend of GTA and traditional 3D platformers. The story portions were fun, but things would always end up right back where they started. The reason I bought this game in the first place.
Home.
Now you may be asking what the other game I bought at GameStop was. I am too. Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. It was the cheapest game available. I watched 3 of the movies. Sure, I popped it in once. I don't even think I got past the main menu. That was my GameCube library. By the year 2007, I could tell my current roster of game consoles was losing their luster. During one of the fabled Mario Kart Double Dash sleepovers, one of my friends whipped out their Nintendo DS with Cars the video game in tow. I was awestruck at the size of the game cards and how the visuals were far more advanced than anything I saw on the GBA. This was like the fanciest game system I had ever seen. It looked so premium with its 2 screens, touch input, 3D visuals. The games came in a plastic case. You could choke on the cartridges. They couldn't do that on Genesis, damn it. Soon after, everywhere I looked, everybody had a DS. Kids using PictoChat, sending messages, raising dogs, doing all kinds of things I thought wasn't even remotely possible on the go.
What?
For my 10th birthday in June of 2007, I got a white Nintendo DS Lite and Nintendogs Labs and Friends. I remember this was one of those birthday gifts you knew you were getting before you got it. I went to the store with my parents and pointed out the exact things I wanted. Might have taken away from some excitement, but at least we didn't have a situation on our hands. He said he wanted a DS. The Nintendo DS Lite was the first game system I owned where I truly felt passionate about it in the moment. The GBA and GameCube, I loved these things to death, but at the time, they were just the game systems I happened to own. The DS, I actively seeked out. I wanted this thing, damn it, and oddly enough, I think PictoChat had a lot to do with that. To be honest, I didn't really use this to send messages to other DS users, but that's not why I wanted to use it. I used it to create crude flipbook animations, and that's the story I'm sticking to. But Nintendogs was the true standout here. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better way to show off the handheld. The bubble blower toy. If you know, you know. Right? I wasn't very imaginative here and only had 2 dogs, both based off of the dogs my family already had. Both were black labs. So I may not have pushed Nintendogs to the limits of what it could do, but that's not the point of these types of games. These were my E-dogs, and I raised them how I wanted to, damn it.
Wrong.
God, this was such a magical and addicting game back then. And nowadays, there's not really much reason to go back. It just doesn't feel like there's enough content to keep me engaged outside of a quick nostalgia trip here and there. But hey, that's no problem, because I think Nintendogs did its job and then some during its prime. It earned a well-deserved rest.
That's code for I never need to play this ever again.
But damn, what an introduction! I was in love with the DS. It was so cool. I just had to get something else for it.
Oh my god. Something!
It was a summer afternoon. We were in a Walmart with my grandpa, and I walked through the video game section, noticing something, frankly, unbelievable. Nintendo DS browser. Holy shit. That's a web page! I can surf the web on my DS for only the exact amount of money I had in my wallet at that exact moment after saving up for months? Well, this must be destiny because I have exactly that! Yeah, I immediately bought this, but could you blame me? I always wanted a laptop to be able to use the computer wherever I please. Now, I was begging my parents for a netbook. I saw those were damn cheap, but turns out I didn't need to beg for that. All I needed was my DS and a good sense of humor. I did not understand the concept of Wi-Fi back then. Hell, we didn't even have it. So this was literally useless. I played it all the time. I was desperate for it to work. I would pop it in just praying for something to magically happen, fiddling around with the settings constantly. I mean, it was kind of cool to have an interface like this on the DS. It at least sort of felt like I had a computer on the go. That didn't work, but still! Yeah, I was pretty damn bummed about this. One of my first full-priced games I bought myself. A goddamn web browser I was never able to use. I can't wait to tear into this one on my deathbed. Thankfully, a few months later, I rectified that poor choice with just a choice. My next DS game was Looney Tunes Duck Amuck. All right, so I think I remember seeing this advertised alongside this big Looney Tunes console game in 2007, Acme Arsenal. Really strange how this uses the same, somewhat darker style when this is anything but. Back in the day, I was a connoisseur of classic animation, specifically the old Warner Brothers stuff. You had the TV channel Boomerang, which would play all the content Cartoon Network was too cool to air anymore. Why? Listen, I will never act like a lot of this stuff was all too great, but I always had a soft spot for retro media like this. It was always really comforting. I loved the history behind it all, and the Boomerang TV channel itself was so reliable. It played the same damn things over and over again, had no commercials, yet played the same "you're watching Boomerang" spots constantly in place of ad breaks. And because it was more of a specialty channel available on certain cable packages and my dad constantly swapped providers to get a better deal, I'd have access to Boomerang and then I wouldn't. And then a year later I'd get it again and lo and behold, it's playing the same old shit. I loved it. But my favorite programming on there was the classic Looney Tunes shorts. I adored these, and while that Acme Arsenal game looked kinda cool, I guess, it felt like it was trying too hard to be cool. Like it's Foghorn Leghorn with a fucking gun. Well, it's about damn time. Duck 'em Muck wasn't trying to be that. Rather, it was a faithful adaptation of the shorts, specifically the one it's named after, where an artist is dicking around with the duck. And quite frankly, this might be one of the most ingenious licensed games of all time. Just look at this box art. It's like, oh, you get to be that artist with the DS stylus. That's such a great idea. Listen, props to the developer WayForward for making this in the first place. It's such a cool concept, and it's chock full of voice acting and great animation. This genuinely feels like you're interacting with a Looney Tunes short. But this novelty only goes so far when the game itself is basically just a shallow minigame collection. And now to be fair, it's not like this doesn't make sense as a minigame collection. You're an artist putting Daffy Duck in silly scenarios and messing around with him. I don't think RTS was the right move. But it just doesn't make this a super compelling title outside of the well-executed premise. As a kid though, this was a cute time. I remember I showed this to my 3-year-old cousin who loved it. He would beg me to play the duck game again. I think that shows how this game, it did what it set out to do, and it was one I really appreciated. Now, Duck 'em Muck was a game I recall getting at a GameStop one day on a whim, something I just wanted in that moment. But the next DS title I got around this time was one of the first games my eyes were glued to from reveal to release. Geez, Scott, you exclaim, what game might that be? I'll give you a hint. Who gives a shit? The Simpsons game. This was actually a pretty hyped up release at the time. I mean, the title itself ignores the dozens of other Simpsons games asserting this is the Simpsons game.
And I have the brown hair and glasses.
EA put so much behind this one. I remember checking out the website multiple times a week, watching the new trailers. Most of the levels were parodies of other video games, so they released trailers for each of them as if they were actual standalone games, and I loved that. Plus, the game itself looked gorgeous. The cell shading really helped it stand out, especially compared to something like Hit and Run, which looked fine, but this, it was like you were transported into the show. And on top of that, many of the cutscenes were animated in 2D, just like the series. This was really damn cool at the time. I was so pumped. Definitely helped that 2007 was a big year for the Simpsons franchise with the movie releasing that summer. It made it so much easier to ask for the worst version of the game. Yeah, the only console I owned that this released on at the time was the DS. It felt like this game was taunting you if you bought it on any platform other than the Xbox 360, with each one getting different box art. I really like this, but it makes this one seem like the serious one, with the others being just a flat-out joke. Well, the DS version is a 2D platformer, though it retains full video cutscenes, which was awesome to have on a handheld. I remember actually watching these things at restaurants while waiting for our food.
While you remember being socially acceptable.
The cutscenes in the DS game were weird though. They were mostly the same, though used the 3D models from the console game, which these are both just video files, so why do this? It's not like the DS version can't run the regular cutscenes. But hey, there's like an entire episode's worth of video content here, which was so damn cool. The game itself, I mean, I beat it back then, though I don't remember thinking it was all too special outside of the presentation. You just beat up enemies, use your character's unique abilities to cross a path or open one for your partner, then swap over to them, rinse and repeat. It's fine, just a little bland. Honestly, I think I powered through it mostly just to unlock all the cutscenes and extra items to use in the Nintendo spoof exclusive to this version. I enjoyed it, but I never really need to play it again. Around Christmas time in 2007, I recall a commercial for Mario games popping up on TV. Probably for New Super Mario Brothers or Actually, maybe Mario Party DS, I'm not sure. But that got my mom to ask me, hey, would you want something like that?
Do I want something like that? Do pigs have organs?
Man, I was ready for a new Mario experience, and I was hearing all kinds of things about all the amazing Mario games on the DS. And on Christmas Eve, I was allowed to open up one present early. I saw one with a familiar shape, ripped it open, and laid my eyes on my mom's gift for me. My next Mario game.
My mom should do stand-up.
Okay, well, this wasn't disappointing by any means, rather, just a bit confusing. Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2. I think the giant mini Mario on the front made this one stick out to my mom, just simply looking for a Mario game. And while I would have probably preferred some of the other options at the time, I'm thankful she picked this one for the opening alone. My word, this blew me away. Such a high quality cutscene across both screens. This was incredible. And the game itself was pretty fun and addictive. I thought the level editor was cool. I always loved the inclusion of that in a game. Though this was one of those that only made sense if you had a specific puzzle to create in mind rather than your stupid ass imagination coming to life. For that, I had Drawn to Life. This, oh boy, everything I always dreamed of right here. This is a very basic 2D platformer, but with the added gimmick of you drawing your own character, designing numerous elements of the world. This was awesome. Though you drawing all of this was actually key to the plot, it wasn't like you were making your own game, which kind of disappointed me. But that didn't stop me from lying to my friends on the bus. I drew myself as the character and passed it to somebody saying, "This is my game I made." I then continued to lie and say, "There's a power-up that can turn you into Super Scott." I took the DS, quickly drew a mask and cape onto him and gave it back. He then said, "Oh yeah, he's definitely faster now."
Yeah, I wanted to reserve my place in hell early.
Similar to the Simpsons game, there was another licensed DS title I had my eyes on, mainly because I didn't have any of the home consoles it released on. And that was 2007 SpongeBob game, Atlantis Square Panis. Yeah, no more GameCube, just strictly Wii and PlayStation 2, alongside GBA and DS versions as well. To be honest, I was starting to get out of my SpongeBob game phase at the time. Maybe that's because the show was starting to go downhill. The games were as well. I don't know, but either way, I felt it was tradition at this point. This was the new SpongeBob game, I had to play it. So this was the final DS game I got that Christmas. I can't say the premise of the title intrigued me. This was just a tie-in with a 40-minute TV special, and a bad one at that. I didn't even like this episode. It was boring. The jokes were lame as hell. It felt like they came up with the title, felt it had to be a big episode, and just let it meander on without any direction or substance. I had to have the game. Atlantis Square Panis on DS was actually pretty damn impressive. I mean, it's basically a 3D platformer, which was really cool. This was the closest I got to something like Battle for Bikini Bottom on the go. Something I desperately wanted during the GBA days. Though, two things really held this one back for me. First off, the lack of voice acting, hardware limitations, and who gives a shit source material helped make this title feel pretty empty. The levels are all based on locations I couldn't care less about, and the layouts themselves, they're fine, but not really all too interesting to explore. Secondly, the character switching mechanic is probably this game's biggest setback. You always have a partner in the levels, and you can pick who you want to play as beforehand. But stages require a specific combo most of the time, and you can't change characters on the fly. You have to backtrack all the way to the beginning to select the character you need. It's dumb. We made it this far in humanity, and we're still f***ing up the Atlantis Square Panis character switch mechanic. I thought this was a neat little time waster. I appreciated the effort put into it, though it just didn't really grab me. But something that did grab me was a certain new game console at the time.
Seriously, it won't let go.
By 2007, it was everybody's civic duty to give a damn about owning a Wii. I remember using the internet to go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, just clicking on every article for a movie or TV show or game that interested you. And that's where I saw the Atlantis Square Panis game was coming to something called a Wii. Later that Halloween, I went trick-or-treating with a friend who owned one and got my first experience with Wii Sports before I got my first experience with Big Hunk.
to the history books.
This was obviously like the coolest thing I had ever seen. The problem was everybody else thought that too. And if you were around at this time, you will know the hell needed to endure in order to find a Wii for sale. Every store we'd go to, my parents would ask the clerk, who definitely already got that question dozens of times that day. No, they had a few Wiis come in today and they sold through them immediately. It frankly felt hopeless. I think that urge to get a Wii was heightened by how difficult it was to get one at that time though. I mean, I wanted one so bad, but like, why else would my parents try that hard? I had enough to keep me busy. I think they definitely wanted to get me this thing I wanted, but the craze surrounding it at the time made it a game in of itself trying to buy it. And in spring of 2008, on a random April day, my parents finally did it. Cheat. My mom found one on eBay. It was more expensive, but I think she just wanted to get this over with. I remember I was playing outside and she called me in, and for some reason, the thought crossed my mind, what if she found a Wii? I have no clue why I thought that, but it turned out to be true. That's right, I'll kick a psychic's ass. They could have waited 2 months to get me this for my birthday, but I guess they wanted to check out this system just as much as I did. So, one of the few random ass big gifts I got for no particular reason right here. Taking it out of the package, it was definitely a lot smaller than you'd expect, and my dad was anticipating something computer tower sized. I plugged it in, made our Miis, and with only one Wii remote controller, my family and I all tried out the multiplayer sports you could play with just one, bowling and golf. And it was incredible. As an only child, I didn't really have many people to play games with, but now with the Wii, this was something my parents understood and greatly enjoyed. I just remember really valuing these times, looking forward to playing bowling with them or making Miis of the other family members and bringing the system to others' houses for them to try, laughing each and every time the bowling ball accidentally got launched towards the crowd. This was a magical device. I remember running home to play it for a good few weeks after I first got it. Like, this was the only thing that mattered. And Wii Sports was the only game we had for a second, though thankfully, soon after, I was able to convince my parents to pick up a Wii Play as it came with a second Wii remote for a cool 50 clams. Now we could all play tennis together and baseball. We no longer had to pass the remote to play bowling and golf. And no more rings on the coffee table. Man, I can't lie and act like I didn't play Wii Play so too goddamn much. These two right here, this was all I needed with my new console. I would practice in Wii Sports, then have a little tournament with either of my parents or friends, or just mess around in Wii Play, which was definitely really basic, but a fun kind of basic. The addictive kind, like 52 pickup. For 53. Really hard to validate Wii Play to others sometimes. I mean, when one of your 9 minigames is...
You played this as a kid? When I wasn't eating dog urine, yes.
But I viewed this as a go for the high score arcadey experience, and nabbing gold medals, seeing how long you can last. Of course, most of these were dead simple and fairly shallow, but I think that added to their charm and made for an effective introduction to the Wii. I loved these two, and they were consistently played for the next few years. But I needed a big boy title for the Wii, and these were practically tech demos, so show me what you got.
Enough.
Sonic Riders Zero Gravity was my 11th birthday present. Only 10 more years. I think this was another March of the Minis situation. My mom saw this in the store and remembered how I liked the other Sonic games I played, so nabbed this without realizing how fucking dreadful this was. I don't blame her. I do that all the time.
Oh, I didn't think it would be that bad.
First impressions were unbelievable here, though. The CGI opening was unlike anything I had ever seen. Say what you will about Sega at this time, but they knew how to make a CG opening and survive. But soon after, it all went downhill for me. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing in this game. I was down for a Sonic racing game, especially with this crazy new controller, but the Sonic Riders games have always been... what the f***? Far more technical than I was anticipating. I could never win here, and it confused me to no end. Most of the time, I would boot this game up, just watch the opening, and sit on the menu afterwards. I didn't understand this game, and to be quite honest, I still don't. And I know I haven't given this thing a fair shake and took the time to understand its quirks, but I'm getting older. Time is running out, and if I'm gonna spend my day either learning Sonic Riders Zero Gravity or going outside and making the most out of my life, I'm gonna eat fucking Cheetos, damn it. Well, the next game I picked up was the home console version version of Atlantis SquarePants. Yes, now that I had a Wii, I could finally fulfill my destiny to play each of the yearly SpongeBob games.
Oh my god.
I think this was THQ's breaking point with the annual SpongeBob releases. I mean, just the fact this was based on a TV special instead of an original idea made this feel so cheap. This didn't feel like they wanted to make another SpongeBob game. This felt like they scrambled to put one out to meet the quota. The Creature from the Krusty Krab developers are back.
To do what to me?
And we have cutscenes that feel like a throwback to the old SpongeBob PC games I played, which was sorta cool. But then when we enter the game,
Wow.
this is unacceptable, man. You can tell how little damn time they had to whip something up. There are 14 levels, which are more so minigames, and a third of them are push the button at the right time. Why else would they put this in the game? It's because they didn't have time to give you actual things to do. It's not even like you're doing this to a rhythm like Dance Dance Revolution. You just push the right buttons. The visuals on screen aren't even interesting. It's just characters walking or standing. It's so goddamn embarrassing. The other levels aren't much better. Another third are these first-person rail shooter segments, and then there's the vehicle stages and 2 of these overhead puzzle platforming ones. And none of these are special whatsoever. They feel like they're here because they were the easiest and quickest to develop while maintaining a somewhat high-quality presentation, something at least sort of in line with what you'd expect out of a SpongeBob game visually and audibly. The voice actors are all here. Except for Mr. Krabs, who they oftentimes couldn't get the official voice for in-game, so they'd settle for an impersonator. In Atlantis SquarePants, they don't even do that. They just keep him silent, so he's just jumping around most of the time. But he's a main character here, so he feels more like the group's dog. Like, oh, he's so happy. Look at him. I bought this game one day in June of 2008. I took it home, popped it in, and finished it that same day, which was something I don't remember doing until then. I was shocked. I mean, I still disliked Creature from the Krusty Krab more, but this was obviously a downgrade from that, which is damn impressive. Creature was really ambitious with its core concept. I just think they lost steam as development progressed. It's like they had fun ideas but didn't know how to design the game's levels to actually make them fun. Atlantis SquarePants, on the other hand, man, this was doomed from the start. It's hard to see any passion present here. Most of the gameplay here is DVD menu level interactivity. Creature from the Krusty Krab really frustrated me with how boring it was, but Atlantis SquarePants was just flat out embarrassing. Though this wasn't my last hurrah with Nickelodeon games. Oh, no. Because that same month, one of my relatives got me Nicktoons Attack of the Toy Bots as yet another birthday gift. Okay, so this was the third in the Nicktoons crossover saga. I always wanted these. It was like every kid's dream. What? But that excitement always faded away just a few minutes after you started playing. I tried these out at friends' houses, and they just didn't leave an impression on me. But as a kid, I didn't think too deeply about it. I still wanted these games for the brand alone. And Attack of the Toy Bots was the first one I owned myself. Moving on. Yeah, that's about all I have to say here. This was just boring as hell. The gameplay was as basic as you could get. Just move forward, platform a bit, beat up enemies. It's a sound game if you want to be fair about it. If you don't,
This game licked me.
something about the Nicktoons game's crustier graphics and drab environments just made these feel like lower-end titles. Even as a kid, it was hard to really care about this one. I got to a point where I didn't know how to progress, and I just gave up. Wow, what a lineup! I was so happy to be in the next generation of gaming. Now, thankfully, later that summer, I had some cash and gift cards to blow, and one day at GameStop, I laid my eyes on Super Mario Galaxy. I recalled seeing some commercials here and there, and in those ads and on the box art, the act of flying through space looked exhilarating. And I knew I could depend on Mario to give me a good time, especially after how many mediocre games I started my Wii ownership off with. So just like that, my next game was f***ing amazing! Oh my god, this is the greatest game I've ever played! That's right, you, Quidditch World Cup! The opening was the coolest damn thing I had ever seen. It's like Mario, but at a whole new level in terms of visuals, music, scope. Every single galaxy was so damn memorable and fun to traverse. Walking around planets, defying gravity was a game changer. The music was incredible. The visuals were the best I'd ever seen at that point. Camella. This turned out to be my favorite game of all time. God, I was so excited when I finally beat it. I ran downstairs to tell my parents before realizing they have no goddamn idea what I was sweaty about. Playing this game just always felt like you were doing something important, like you were experiencing history in the making. It felt substantial. It felt like games that dreams were made of. I had 3 complaints. Back in the day, I thought to myself, what if I wrote a review for Super Mario Galaxy? Complaint number 1, the health meter beeped a lot when you got down to 1. Complaint number 2, the flying wasn't as integral to the game as I had anticipated. It was mostly just in cutscenes, and when you did get full control, it was via a barely utilized power-up super late in the game. Complaint number 3, my foot kinda hurts today. That's all I could muster. As far as I was concerned, this was as perfect as you could get as a video game. It got me deeper into video games than ever before. I would go through Wikipedia just saving all the Mario box arts to our computer. I don't know why. I didn't have an end goal there. I just like doing it. I remember starting to scour websites like IGN this year, reading all the reviews for the latest games. Hell, if there was a video review, I noticed a download button and I put them on blank DVDs for fun to watch them in the car on my portable DVD player. Because entertainment is subjective, damn it. And watching those video reviews actually got me interested in my next Wii pickup, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This game looks spectacular online. I love the concept of punching Pikachu, kicking him, and killing him. Yeah, I wasn't big into Pokemon as a kid. I thought it was stupid, and I wanted to take out that aggression somehow. And I found 2 ways to do it. I saved up the cash needed to nab a copy, and my mom ran me to the nearest Target where, lo and behold, in its Wii section, lied. Okay, so I was met with my worst nightmare that day. No! I've had a wonderful life. Mario Kart Wii was the hottest game out at the time. So hot, it was impossible to find, much like the Wii itself. And right when I was ready to buy another game, that's when we find it. Gosh damn it. My mom ended up making a deal with me. She'd buy Mario Kart, though it'd be my Christmas present. I went, sure. In July. 5 months? How can you expect me to wait 5 months? I can't wait that long. I'll be a completely different person by then. I'll own Lego Batman. Well, that was the price I had to pay in order to ensure I had the game I would trade into GameStop 3 years later. I definitely wanted Smash Brothers more in the moment, as Mario Kart I was mostly interested in due to the Wii wheel included and because everybody wanted it. So, the deal was made. I got Super Smash Bros. Brawl that day alongside ensuring a Mario Kart Wii later down the line.
I also got Def.
I didn't have much experience with Smash Brothers at this point. I recall playing about 5 minutes worth of Melee at a friend's house back in like 2005, and like this kid had every game you could ask for. Pac-Man Fever, War of the Whiskers, everything. So in the moment, as everybody was enjoying the hell out of one of the greatest games of all time, I was thinking about the possibilities. It took until Brawl for me to fully understand and appreciate the beauty of Smash Brothers. Though I think if I actually owned Melee, I definitely would have started with that game. Because these games are like video game platforms on video game platforms. You could pop them in even if you weren't in the mood to play Smash Brothers and find something fun to do. Like in Brawl, you could browse the history of games Nintendo's published, play the coin launcher game to collect trophies, stickers, hell, just go for a high score. You could dick around in Stage Builder, which was a blast. Create sticker albums, watch videos, listen to music, play demos of classic Nintendo games, and that's without mentioning the actual game here. Super Smash Bros. Brawl was electrifying to play. One of those games where everything just sticks with you. The custom sound coming from the Wii remote when picking a character, the joy on my face when discovering Special Brawl, trying to make the worst playing match imaginable, all the incredible stages. I loved Picto Chat, WarioWare, Mario Circuit, Skyworld, Mario Brothers, the amazingly detailed visuals, incredible music spanning dozens of franchises, and of course, the teen rating. So adult, I may as well have been watching porn. You may notice I'm not talking much about the game itself. I was bad. I thought this game was damn fun, but I was not optimally playing it. I was using a Wii remote on its side. I was oftentimes picking Mario, would hit the A button, he would grow, and I thought that was some kind of attack I wasn't landing properly. It was a taunt, but how would I know that back then? It's not like I would take the instruction manual on bathroom trips sometimes. or so regularly. I also had no clue how to set up matches with computer players. Firstly, I just assumed that group button, that ain't for me. I'm by myself, there's nothing for me in there. But when I actually decided to enter it and hopped on over to that character select screen, I had no damn clue I could select CPU players. I was sitting on this for minutes. Then I didn't understand why jump was up. I thought, well, it has to be one of these buttons here. So I went into the controller customization options and definitely played a good chunk of this game without one of my attacks. But I powered through and was eventually able to unlock all the characters by beating the single player campaign, the Subspace Emissary. After that, Brawl was reliable. A game I could always pop in and have an incredible time with no matter what. Whether it involved fighting or not. This was one of my favorite games. And even though subsequent Smash titles eclipsed this one, you hand me Brawl, and I'm gonna have a blast. Now, just because the past 2 games I picked up were legitimate titles, that doesn't mean I wasn't past my bullshit phase. Back in 2008, you couldn't watch TV without getting carnival games crammed down your gullet. To be fair though, this sounded and looked pretty damn fun. I mean, Wii Sports really set the standard for what I expected out of these types of games. And if that could make bowling as great as it was, imagine what carnival games could do. I'd have a full-blown carnival in my house at all times, and wouldn't you know, it delivered.
Oh, that's vomit.
Yeah, this wasn't as cool as I had hoped. All these games were just so basic and bland. They were all over in like 30 seconds, and all you got for beating them were prizes that did nothing.
So they're carnival games.
Okay, so playing this game nowadays, I have a lot more respect for it. Not because it's anything special, rather, it does what it advertises. It's a pretty damn accurate depiction of a carnival, and for like 30 minutes to an hour, it gives you a similar amount of fun you'd get at an actual carnival. Though at the time, I think I was expecting this to be like the most fun thing, when in reality, I didn't think carnivals were the most fun thing. Why the hell was I holding this game to such standards? Carnival games. What? Another game I got that first year of Wii ownership was Smarty Pants. Parents got me this one. It's a trivia game. And? Yeah, this was a damn basic trivia game, but I liked it for that. The presentation and accessibility were rock solid. No big loading times, easy to jump right in. I have never found a trivia game to outfine this one, because this one was perfectly fine. This is still usually my pick when a trivia game is requested. It does the job and it does it well. But my next pick would be...
I have a certain reputation in the trivia game community.
One day at Toys R Us, I had just enough cash to pick up a new game, okay? I swear this was where I gave up on SpongeBob. Not the past 8 times, no, this was the one. SpongeBob SquarePants featuring Nicktoons Glops of Doom. All right, so I assume THQ wanted to stick to a yearly SpongeBob game on consoles, but just didn't have one ready for 2008, though they had the next Nicktoons game, which, hey, title it this way. We get our SpongeBob game, and the Nicktoons game has a chance of selling well. Because I think around this time, the concept of being a Nicktoon wasn't as lucrative as it once was. I mean, no, every character not from SpongeBob on this cover, their show was already over by this point. But even as a kid, I caught on to what THQ was trying to do with the titling here. And I think that's mostly why I was interested in picking it up. I wanted to see if it's just another goddamn Nicktoons game. Yeah, I didn't give a damn about this one. Much like Attack of the Toy Bots, it just wasn't interesting. Like, what, do you want to play this? Globs of Doom? Doom Globs? This is it, I was done. I was over trying to play the yearly SpongeBob game. I played real games now. Remember the Scholastic book catalogs you get in school where you could order stuff to then receive in a big old bag by your teacher like months later? Oh, they would always have like 3 video games for purchase in these. One was actually a PC game titled Video Game Tycoon that promised to give you the ability to make your own games and burn them onto a blank DVD. Now that was a dream come true, so I bought that. Didn't work on my computer. I also saw a 4-game multi-pack for Battleship, Connect 4, Sorry, and Trouble on the DS. Didn't care for this one. I think I got this for 2 reasons. One, I technically bought it in school. That's pretty badass, man. That's like smoking a cigarette in front of a puppy. 2, having 4 popular board games on DS felt like a no-brainer. These games were timeless classics, so no matter what, I would have instant, accessible fun with this cartridge. Meh! Yeah, the concept of having these games on the go sells this pack a lot better than the game itself. It's just kind of boring. But that wasn't the last game I picked up via the catalog throughout my middle school years, because at one point, they were offering Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games for Wii. Wow, that's an actual video game, not something for PC, not trouble. This was a game I wanted regardless of it being from a catalog or not, but it definitely helped. So yes, I ended up getting this one in school. I ran home to play, and by God, it was okay. With my track record, that's a miracle. I may not have been around for the Mario and Sonic rivalry of the 90s, but I could always tell something was up between these two. So to see these two icons come together for a game, it was incredibly exciting. Though I already saw that happen in Smash Brothers, so what could this really do to swoon me?
Fair.
I had some fun with this one, though it was very shallow. Like, I could only ever play for 30 minutes straight without getting bored. But those 30 minutes? Wow! It was enjoyable to an extent, but I think that was mostly due to the gimmick of this being a bunch of Mario and Sonic characters. And I didn't even experience that enough because you could play as your Mii in the game. And I took any opportunity to play as my Mii. Because what's cooler than Vector the Crocodile standing right next to him? I think my main issue with Mario and Sonic is how most of these mini games don't feel like great uses of the Wii Remote. And instead, they feel like games that were designed around mashing buttons translated over to motion control. And then when you're done with a game, the last thing I'm thinking is, let's do that again. It's fun for a bit, but definitely overstates its welcome pretty quickly. With the Wii taking up most of my video game energy in 2008, I think I definitely needed to show my DS I still cared about it. And you must be saying, but Scott, what more could you do?
You know what? You got a point.
But I'll spoil it anyways, because when I was on the school bus one day, I saw somebody playing a full 3D Mario game on their DS. Oh my God. What was this? I didn't know this was a thing. I heard about new Super Mario Brothers, but this was like that game on Nintendo 64 I saw my cousins play. Damn it. Bugs Life. After doing a bit of research and actually seeing this at Target, I knew it was Super Mario 64 DS. I absolutely had to have this. I mean, I had already dreamed of playing console and PC games on the go, so to have this game that I only ever imagined as a console game on a road trip, it was magical. I remember seeing this fake leak for Super Mario Galaxy DS on YouTube and damn near went, holy shit. The idea of playing a 3D Mario portably, it was finally realized with this. And to be honest, I think Mario 64 DS stuck the landing for the most part. This was basically everything I could have asked for here. It was Super Mario 64 on the DS. Now, it does have its fair share of issues, which through the eyes of an 11-year-old, oh wow. Major problems in the game, like the lack of an analog stick and strange changes from the original, don't affect a child who doesn't understand how games can be better sometimes. You just suck it up, power through, and learn to live with it. I played this thing so much. I mean, why wouldn't I? It's a full 3D Mario in the palm of my hands. I definitely have always wanted to talk about this on its own for a while, so I'll stop for the most part there. But I can't finish without mentioning why this game was even good to begin with. The mini games, baby. This is where I learned what kind of gamer I really am. Yeah, this thing always kept me busy, whether it was the core game, the mini games, the damn title screen. I got dozens, maybe even hundreds of hours out of Mario 64 DS. And I think this on top of what we're gonna talk about next got me fully committed to the world of video games. Browsing the web one day, I came across a trailer for the next big Sonic game, Sonic Unleashed. This looked unbelievable. The sense of speed, the detailed visuals, I was awestruck at this thing. This was, no joke, the most I had ever wanted a video game. I would mention it at any moment I could. I remember in school, a question asked me what my favorite song was, and I never knew what the answer was, but I knew a song I really liked at the moment was the song from the Sonic Unleashed trailer, and now you know my deepest secret. Months went by, and I was desperately praying I would get Unleashed for Christmas. And I did. I barely played it. Yeah, what a tragic story. It's not that I didn't like Sonic Unleashed. In fact, I remember it satisfied me fine enough. But see, the part of the game I was the most enamored by was the part where you were in fact playing as Sonic. It's when we move over to this side of the bed where things get Scott stops playing you-ish. The Werehog. It's not that these sections are bad or I didn't like them. They just weren't what I wanted to play here. It's like if you were forced to do a crossword puzzle between Mario Kart races. It's not like they're bad puzzles, just why are they here? I remember thinking the daytime stages were a ton of fun, while the nighttime stages, I was just doing them to get to the next daytime stage, and because they made up half the levels in the game, it definitely got me to stop playing before I really wanted to. Isn't it the worst to be let down by a game like this, especially when you were a kid? Getting this game meant the world to me, and for it to end up being kind of a letdown, definitely a bit heartbreaking, not gonna lie. That doesn't mean I disliked the game, not at all. It just wasn't as mind-blowing as I was hoping it would be back then. Which might also be because the trailers all showcase the Xbox 360 version of the game. Well, either way, I was incredibly happy to finally get this alongside a game I was waiting for nearly half a year. It was finally time to experience Mario Kart Wii. This game. Okay, so I'm exaggerating because I did enjoy this one, but man, was it hard. Still, to this day, I'd say Mario Kart Wii is one of the more difficult entries in the series, which is wild considering it was advertised as one of the most accessible. And one of the hardest damn ways to play an already pretty tough game is what they advertise as the optimal way to play, using the included Wii wheel, and what the hell is this? Automatic or manual? Well, why would I choose manual? I don't want to do anything. The core thing I remember from this game was not winning, and my beloved battle mode from Double Dash. It just wasn't the same here. Everybody was on teams, they were timed matches, it just didn't do it for me. This led to Mario Kart Wii being a game I did enjoy, but more so from a distance. For the longest time, I consider this to be one of the worst in the series due to the difficulty and super wacky item balancing, though in recent years, that honestly makes it one of the best to go back to. This is probably my favorite to play with friends right now. But for 11-year-old Scott, it was traumatizing. And then there was Lego Batman the video game. At least the trauma was more interesting. Yep, this was my other Wii game Christmas gift, and I did ask for this one. I was interested in the Lego games and was watching reruns of the Batman show from the 60s at the time, so I decided to ask for this, and I just didn't get far here. I don't know, the Lego formula just never hooked me, so this is one I didn't play too awful much. Similar to one of the DS games I got that Christmas from one of my uncles. First up, Scott, you lying scum. Hey, well, I was done with the SpongeBob console games. Here we have the handheld game, Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants Edition. Hey, this was a surefire bet. I like Drawn to Life, and I like SpongeBob. I don't remember a single goddamn thing about this game. I think I appreciated the concept of this game far more than the game itself, which was fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. But I think I liked Drawn to Life because I was fantasizing that this was my own video game. You put a SpongeBob skin on it, it's not nearly as personable. Still, a pretty decent time, just not anywhere near as good as the final game I got that Christmas. New Super Mario Brothers. Not even from my parents. One of my uncles, they took a random swing with this one and hit it out of the park. New Super Mario Brothers was like the de facto DS game, the one everybody enjoyed, the one everybody could depend on for basic gaming goodness. So getting it here, alongside many of the other titles I started playing, I finally started feeling like I was playing the right things. Like, this was one of the highest rated games at that time, right alongside Mario Galaxy, Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario Kart Wii, Drawn to Life SpongeBob Edition. It felt so good to be playing something good. You know it! Early in 2009, during a family shop sesh, we noticed a copy of Wii Fit was available, another notorious hard-to-find Wii game at the time. So that was an instant pickup. No particular reason for it, I think it was just the Wii frenzy kicking in. It's so hard to find. When we find it, well, what else are we supposed to do? I'm scared to think about the possibilities. We bought it. This was a huge deal, coming with a balance board and all. Definitely kept the fun going from games like Wii Sports, but in a different way. I can't say I actually used the fit portions of Wii Fit all too much. The yoga and strength training exercises were about as interesting as yoga and strength training. I'll play the soccer ball game, thank you very much. I wonder how many calories I burned from this. Too many. Oddly enough, though, I think my favorite game here was running. Yeah, I thought it was so cool. You could put the remote in your pocket, jog in place, and the game would read everything fairly accurately. I really enjoyed my time with Wii Fit, enough to warrant lugging the balance board around to families' houses when I'd want to plug in the Wii to show others. Christ, Scott, just bring Wii Sports, that's all they need. Come February 2009, I'm not sure what warranted this, but my mom got me a Valentine's Day gift because, could you tell, I earned one. I guess she caught this for a good price because I got My Sims Kingdom. Never asked for this, nor did I usually get Valentine's Day gifts, so this was concerning. But hey, I got a new game, so I didn't think twice about it, and My Sims was something I had definitely seen advertised, and honestly, most of the time, if a game was heavily marketed for Wii, it usually entered my wish list. Whoa, Mushroom Men The Spore Wars?
Oh man, I want that, they told me.
And while the original My Sims may have been on my wish list for that reason, I'm pretty happy my mom picked up this one instead, because good lord is this okay. Basically, it's a life sim game, but with a story and objectives. You can build stuff to go around the world and make everybody's life in the kingdom as a whole better. I really liked how you could treat this as a basic sim game and build your house, decorate it, and leave it at that. Or you could chip away at the campaign stuff. I thought it was well balanced in that aspect. It made me care about both sides so much more. I liked this one. It was a good game to chip away at for a few months. It's nothing too awful special, but I think it was one of the better titles for kids on here. One of the better titles by EA, one of the better games I owned. On a tragic note, so I was invited to a birthday party by a friend of mine, and the location was at this place. It was unlike so many other businesses. Basically, it was like a library for video games mixed with an internet cafe. You'd go there, check out a game, sit down at one of their many TVs, and could play it. It felt right for multiplayer games like Halo, which is what the other kids were playing. Me, on the other hand, I knew what I was about. I checked out Sonic 06 on 360 because I had seen reviews online and wanted to see how bad it was. Yuck! Pretty. But one of the main titles I tried out was Boogie, one of the heavily advertised Wii games I was referring to. I was dancing like crazy here. A crowd of parents formed around me watching, probably because, what's more interesting? I recall one of them asking, is he like a professional dancer? Buddy, I remember I didn't even pass the stage I was playing. But I think that was enough of an ego boost where I thought, wow, this must be my calling in life, to own Boogie. Things are feeling good by this point. I had multiple reasons to live. Now, another game I played here was WarioWare Smooth Moves, which I just had a flat out great time with. So for the next few months, my main goal was to own both of these titles for myself, which I eventually did. First up, WarioWare. Honestly, one of my favorite Wii games. It made me fucking cry. This part right here, facing off against the swordsman, oh my God. Not only did this take me hours to nail, but every time I'd fail, I had to play through all the micro games before again, and oh, here comes the boss, and there goes my sanity. I was generally able to keep my cool as a youngin', but everybody has an emotional breakdown at some point. There's nothing to be ashamed of there, and now there is. But I eventually beat the game. The hour-and-a-half long game. I did it. I beat it, I persevered, but like other WarioWares, it was definitely meant to be replayed, and replay it, I did. I found this to be one of the best showcases for the Wii Remote. The amount of incredible ideas in here is unbelievable. Even something as stupid as let go of the remote and have it dangle by the wrist strap. That's the stupidest goddamn brilliant idea I've ever heard. Absolutely loved this game, much like Anti-Boogie. Yeah, this didn't hit the same without an audience of onlookers. I remember realizing so much of this game is just shaking the Wii Remote randomly, pretending you know how to dance. So I left the room and kept shaking and boom, 4 stars. Well, see, you can't cheese the game. I didn't get 5. This was definitely one of those games you played somewhere and loved, but when you finally get it for yourself, you're told of a gas leak that occurred. Yeah, I gotta be honest, this is a pretty worthless game, though this is where Mom came to the rescue because for Easter of 2009, I got a new game to help me forget about Gee Kama Boo. We're back on the DS, this time with Professor Layton and the Curious Village. What a wild shot in the dark. Who the hell is this? Seemed like a pretty random game to get until I popped it in. Lo and behold, fully animated cutscenes, voice acting, and a mix between point-and-click adventure and riddle? Oh man, I love riddles. Here's a good one. Why? Professor Layton was incredibly solid, something my mom and I actually played together a bit considering the puzzles in the game were general brain teasers. You just had to think about them for a second rather than have good hand-eye coordination. And I thought the production values were crazy impressive for a DS title and a new franchise like this. I had a great time with Curious Village, one of the DS's definitive games in my opinion, which is partially why I didn't get a ton more for the handheld after this. Yeah, this was pretty much it for my DS collection. We have a few more I picked up later, but for the most part, this was it.
Was it good for you?
But that didn't mean I wasn't invested into the DS life. Oh, no. Because in April of 2009, I upgraded to a black Nintendo DSi after reading about it in my newly subscribed to Nintendo Power magazine. A DS with 2 cameras? Well, that's just flat out productive. Think of everything I can accomplish with cameras on my DS. Think of all the things I can do with this redesign. Like not play my Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, yeah. Here.
Yeah, not an ideal purchase looking back at this. It saved up my cash for months for this thing. The DS with a camera. Traded in my DS Lite and Game Boy Advance games to afford this, when it's just another DS with a huge feature removed. But the new inclusions more than made that up to me at the time. I loved having all these fun applications preloaded on the system. That made it so that no matter what games I brought on a road trip, there was always Nintendo DSi sound to fall back on. And hey, the Nintendo DS browser was included on the system for free now.
Oh my god, that's so cool!
Many DSi features like this obviously required Wi-Fi connectivity though, which we still didn't have. Though we got this unofficial Ethernet adapter for the Wii at Circuit City around the time, and this was when I started to dive into video game history with the Wii Shop channel. 2,000 Wii Points cards became bargaining chips for me as I'd beg my parents for them. These were $20 a pop, so I felt they were at reasonable prices to barter for. I'll trade you a month's worth of dog shit cleanup for a $20 gift card, thank you, suckers. But I would get these every now and then and splurge on a few NES games, specifically those I had at my grandma's house, which were amazing to finally own. Sometimes SNES, N64, or new WiiWare releases were scooped up, making it so realistically, I was set for life on my Wii. There was no reason to get anything else.
No reason.
For my 12th birthday, I asked for Wii Music, I got Wii Music. It was like asking for somebody to stab you and they shoot you instead. I was keen on owning every Wii series game at the time, as you are before you buy Wii Music. Plus, I played trombone in middle school, so it's almost like this was a perfect match.
Oh my god, you're a murderer, he's a victim. It's perfect!
So I knew of this game's reputation at the time, though I was willing to give it a chance because, well, it's Nintendo. They get me. And to be quite honest, I had some fun with Wii Music as a silly little toy. It felt sort of like a fleshed out boogie. Something that's more akin to a noisemaker than anything else. But unlike other noisemakers, this one had pizzazz. I love the ability to make your own music video and design your own album cover, the never-ending supply of instruments to test out, and the mini-games which made Wii Music an actual video game. Because for the most part, it's just shake controllers, make song. And I get why they did this, to bring the joy of making music to those who don't know how to play any instruments, and who knows, maybe it'll inspire them to learn one. I stopped playing trombone 2 years later. I was far more keen on playing Big Brain Academy Wii Degree, another title I got for my birthday. While I never had any of these brain training games on DS, I had this Wii adaptation which did more than enough for the old noggin.
A little too late.
The main mode I played here was multiplayer. I mean, it's seriously genius to turn brain games into a competition to see who can solve the most or solve them the quickest. That'll get you to think. My mom and I played this one quite a bit together, which, once again, made me really happy to be playing a multiplayer game with my parents that they understood and also had fun with. Let's add the negative effect to this in Photoshop. The iconic 3 other games I got from my extended family for my birthday: Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party, Thrillville Off the Rails, and Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? Make the Grade. Thrillville, I saw my friend playing the original on his PS2, and I remember he bragged about it saying, "You can kiss girls in the game." Ended up thinking that was pretty much all you did in this, so instead of managing a theme park, I mostly played this as a dating sim. Which just completely made this game irrelevant. Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party. Everybody knew of the Rabbids games on Wii back then, but this was the only one I owned and played. And it was just sort of there. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. I think I was most interested in the Wii Balance Port support. Getting to use that outside of Wii Fit now, that was the dream. Turns out, didn't need Rabbids for that. Then there was Make the Grade, which I didn't like because I couldn't use the pointer to select answers.
What's that I have, you ask? Oh, it's just standards.
Not the most prolific lot of Wii titles. I was grateful nonetheless, but I had bigger fish to fry later that summer. 2009 was the first year I recall looking into anything related to E3. I think on a whim, I decided to look up Mario games on Wikipedia and found the page for New Super Mario Bros. Wii the day it was announced. I guess I just have a sixth sense telling me whenever Wikipedia is edited. I would not wish this hell upon anybody. But that was how I discovered a sequel to my beloved Wii Sports was releasing in July, Wii Sports Resort. The next time I was at GameStop, I traded in a few games, and the cashier mentioned I could put that money towards a pre-order for a game I was interested in. Well, how convenient! I just started looking forward to future game releases. $20 towards Wii Sports Resort, please! Then when it came to release day, I was at a different GameStop. I thought the money I put down could be transferred to a different store. It couldn't. I couldn't help myself. I bought the game anyways, and told my mom I still had money down at another store. She was frustrated with me, and while my relationship with my mother has never been the same, it was all worth it to play bowling early. Wii Sports Resort was awesome. I particularly loved swordplay and island flyover. Hell, even the opening. It was strangely cinematic for a Wii series game, but I wasn't complaining. My parents were, though. This wasn't nearly as intuitive or accessible as the original Wii Sports. That made it a hell of a lot better as a single-player experience, though I wasn't able to play in multiplayer nearly as much as I wanted to. But add this to the pile of mainstay Wii games for me, titles I always came back to, just kinda not really, but close enough, like Order Up. Another game I picked up that summer. I saw a review online which made it look so fun. I love the concept here. It was basically a restaurant simulator. You cook up customer orders using motion controls and try to give everybody the best food in the shortest time possible, which you can then use the money you make throughout to buy upgrades like spices or employees. Game with a chef hat, that's more you can say about, I don't know, bugs. But I really liked Order Up. It was quite well done, very addictive and satisfying to play through. Though there were some games still on the top of my wish list, and later that fall, while at Best Buy, I finally picked up the console version of the Simpsons game on Wii. It was about damn time. I had to make do with the DS version all these years, and now I can play the actual game I scoured previews of for months back in 07. Scott, how does it feel to finally own the Simpsons game on console now?
I own the Simpsons game on console now.
Yeah, this one wasn't anything incredible, though I still admire it a lot. It is a bit of a Sonic Unleashed situation where all the trailers showcase the gorgeous HD versions, and on Wii, I mean, they don't look bad, just not nearly as striking. So presentation-wise, this is still quite solid. It's just when we get to the gameplay, I don't care. This is a very basic 3D platforming action game. If it didn't have all the effort put into the visuals, voice acting, and writing, damn givers would all pass on this one. It isn't a fun game, it's functional. What makes it fun is the presentation, which is downgraded on Wii, so obviously the HD versions are the way to go. And I think many should give them a go, because this is still a really cool release. And the Wii version isn't bad. I finished it back in the day and had a fine enough time. It just wasn't something I really ever cared about for the gameplay, which is unfortunate because the character's special abilities are all really cool in concept, but they just aren't utilized in fun ways. Solid 6.5 out of 10 kind of game right here, with 5 out of 10 gameplay and 8 out of 10 presentation.
And 10 out of 10 not being Game Party 2.
Christmas of '09, I opened up my one game-shaped gift to reveal,
Oh man, I wanted a game.
my parents definitely just saw this for cheap and picked it up because that was the Game Party series shtick. Each title was generally around $19.99 brand new and preyed upon those who wanted another Wii Sports or Wii Play. I mean, just having official Wii remotes on the cover was enough to make this seem like another quality official title. I don't blame them for picking this up.
I blame society.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think this game is as bad as most reviews made it out to be. It's not great, but it is as advertised. The controls work, it's quick to get into the games. I mean, you can get by with this. It's fine for a night of harmless, mindless fun. Rating it as low as Molluscum, I have to ask why. I played this a few times, but I knew its deal. I was very aware what this game was, and while I thought it was okay, it was obviously just kind of a filler game in the collection. But then, we had my mom's side of the family's Christmas to go to, and there we had a system where you draw names from a hat a month prior. You'd get one person you had to get a gift for, and who got my name? My cousin's boyfriend, and you generally expect something around the $20 range. Maybe at most a DS game, generally something like a console game. I'd only get those from my parents or on my birthday. But from somebody who wasn't even a blood relative, I assume I'd just open it and say, "What the fuck?" Yeah, a brand new Wii game. And not just that, the Wii game for that holiday. This game was only a month old at that point. This was $50 bucks. That was the craziest thing at the time. I would have never guessed getting this at that moment from him, but I was very grateful. That was an awesome moment. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was so exciting to play. First thing I did when I ran home. And yeah, I had a blast with this. I never made it past the second world, but I loved it. I remember being disappointed the Mega Mushroom power-up from the DS game didn't show up here. Of course, now, I couldn't care less about that thing, but back then, as a kid, it was just damn cool to be so big. Why couldn't it be in the Wii one? Instead, we have the propeller suit, which was still pretty sweet. Mario games can always just create variants of flying power-ups, and it's an easy crowd pleaser. Since for some reason, I just couldn't beat World 2, I definitely tried to whip this game out for multiplayer whenever I could, since that was the big jaw-dropping feature. One problem, Scott was an only child and didn't have many friends willing to play games like this with him. So whenever my 4-year-old cousin was around, boom, try to get him to play with me, even though he would throw a tantrum when he was player 2 on the Wii remotes and had no idea what he was doing. So at the end of the day, I always felt like I didn't get enough out of this game. Moving into 2010, around the springtime, Nintendo Power detailed a new title, allowing you to create your very own games. That being WarioWare DIY. Hey, I liked WarioWare on the Wii, and I can create my own little micro games? That sounds awesome. I always really wanted something like this, but it just felt like every game that promised to let your imagination go wild would end up being the most limiting thing imaginable. Oh my god, I can't wait to make my own level.
I can make this work.
The second I had enough cash, this was mine. One of my first DS games in a good long while. And oh my god, this was it. This was the game I was waiting for. Never before and never since have I seen a game creation game so well done, thought out, and fun. So WarioWare as a series is about Wario and friends making these games. That's the whole point. That's why they look like ass most of the time. So not only does it make perfect sense to go in this direction, the simplicity and short length of microgames make them ideal starting points for players to learn how game creation works. This ain't some kind of level editor thing. Nah, you can literally create any kind of 2D game you can think of here. Which does mean this isn't something you just hop into and start making. There are extensive tutorials on how to design a game. But I think that's a necessary hurdle to cross. This game helps you appreciate everything that goes into even the smallest microgames. And if you want the freedom to create whatever you want, you're gonna have to earn the knowledge on how to do it. But once I got through the tutorials, this was my go-to DS game from there on out. Not only was it so damn cool to make my own 5-second long games and make them whatever I want, not being held back by the limitations of games like Drawn to Life, but I could also play this as a typical WarioWare game. They had a bunch of pre-made micro games in here, all designed within DIY, so you could take these and edit them however you like, or pop the hood open to get some inspiration for your next game. There's a music maker, comic maker, you can upload your games online, download others. This is perfect for what it is. I ended up downloading the companion title on the Wii Shop channel, WarioWare DIY Showcase, where you can send your games to the console and play them on the big screen, which thankfully means I still have most of my creations.
Patent pending.
Over that summer, I mostly stuck to playing the games I already owned, but would dabble in new ones here and there. For my birthday, I asked for Wii Fit Plus, since that was only 20 bucks by itself. You didn't need to get the whole balance board bundle, and yeah, it was just Wii Fit with some added features and games, making the original completely irrelevant. Well, not completely. I liked the pet feature in the game. You could weigh them to get them in on the insults. Then the added games, those were a blast. I specifically was excited for the obstacle course, since Nintendo advertised it as experiencing what Mario does on the daily. So this is what it's like to have facial hair. A title I picked up later on with some gift cards was Seen It, Bright Lights, Big Screen. Oh boy, yeah, movie trivia that uses the same control scheme as Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? My fucking Scott doesn't like that gland. Now, these days, I don't care. Back then, I just thought if you're making a trivia game on Wii, you gotta have the pointer controls. I mean, why wouldn't you? Of course, now I realize this allows you to hide your answer from the other player, but back then, I didn't care. I knew what side of history I was on. This was based on the board game series, which I really liked back then, mostly just because it was play alongside a DVD. I hadn't seen 80% of the movies they were talking about here. I just liked the gimmick, and seeing it on Wii replaces that gimmick with something far more practical and logical. didn't play this much. But then, one fateful day at GameStop, I traded in a few of my titles to nab some in return. First up, Animal Crossing City Folk. I knew this was one of Nintendo's key titles, but man, I didn't know what to do here. Honestly, I only played this one for about 20 minutes. I had no clue what I was doing.
Relapsing.
Okay, damn it, one last time, and I had a good reason. SpongeBob's Truth or Square. I picked this up used at GameStop, and why did I do that? Because this was developed by Heavy Iron Studios, the same people who made Battle for Bikini Bottom and the movie game. Oh my god, my childhood!
Oh my god, my childhood!
I was definitely willing to hop back on the SpongeBob game train for this one. I mean, all I really wanted from the last few was another title that impressed me like with what Heavy Iron did. And with Heavy Iron back, I was finally impressed again. Impressed as to how they didn't do that! Okay, so Truth or Square, much like Atlanta Square Panis, was based on a TV special. I don't like that. I think it's cheap, especially considering this has like 2% in common with that episode. They're largely different, though that's probably a good thing considering the special was about the gang getting stuck in the vents of the Krusty Krab. Oh boy, I can't wait to use the C button on that. The game instead is about looking back at various memories throughout the show, which is definitely a fun concept, though there's no real feeling of adventure here like in previous games. It's just a handful of stages loosely based on old SpongeBob episodes, and most of them are aesthetically the same as what we saw in Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is pretty much what the whole game feels like, though now we have a way better character animation. But all the music here is ripped directly from those old Heavy Iron titles, or just stock music from the show. We have robots as the main enemies again. This game honestly feels like a soulless repeat of what came before. And that's not even considering the gameplay now. It's just so bland. These levels are unbelievably straightforward. You just keep moving in one direction, defeat all the enemies, hit all the switches. That's it. The camera is a little too close and annoying now, and your moveset isn't nearly as fluid and versatile as previously. This isn't a bad game. It's far better than Creature from the Krusty Krab, Atlanta Square Panis, Globs of Doom, all of those. It's pretty high quality, all things considered. But I feel the Battle for Bikini Bottom and the movie game could stand on their own as solid games. Well, this one kind of just feels like they said, F it, it's for kids. Yep, they didn't get far in this one. I kind of just wanted to try it for old time's sake, you know, back when I was 11. But 13-year-old Scott had bigger fish to fry. He was too old for this SpongeBob junk and was ready for something bolder, bigger, more mature.
Damn, I'm 13 acting like I'm 14.
Later that year, I picked up Wii Party, another Wii series game, you know the drill. I was able to play this with my parents a bit, and they understood it fine enough. You know, the best thing here was the hide and hunt mode, where you hide the Wii remote somewhere in the actual living room with the others trying to find it as it's playing sounds out of the speaker. One of the most clever uses of the controller, honestly. I love that so much. And the game overall, I liked it fine enough, though it being a party game pretty much left it to be played exclusively with others, which, if you haven't noticed, I barely draw anybody else. So why not a single player game to keep me busy? I really enjoyed My Sims Kingdom, so hey, why not? My Sims Agents. 2009 was a prolific year for the My Sims franchise, as they released 3 separate games both on Wii and DS. A little bit of something for everyone. Bad games, good games, bad games. Agents is actually a pretty solid experience, not really like Kingdom at all. Downplaying the creation elements and more so going for a linear single-player story where you're trying to solve mysteries. I appreciate the quality here, but I really didn't play this as much as My Sims Kingdom. Man, I'm really striking out hard with a lot of these games. It's been a while since I've gotten something I played relentlessly. So, later that Christmas,
The streak continued.
yes, Jeopardy for Wii. My parents loved the game show, and this was heavily advertised alongside Wheel of Fortune that holiday season. See, the idea of playing Jeopardy at home is fun until you actually play Jeopardy at home. I also got Attack of the Movies 3D. Man, I don't know. This was a random get here, and it's just a basic rail shooter, but it comes with 4 pairs of 3D glasses. Point 1. Yeah, this was fine. I didn't ask for this, but it wasn't anything horrible. It was just, why would I play this more than once? Moving into 2011, this was one of the last years I truly consider to be from my childhood. Even though I was a teenager at the time, I mean, come on. Is a 13-year-old really a teenager, or is it just an old-ass kid? By 2013, I had a job. I was saving my money and started collecting this garbage, so this was the end of an era. in more ways than one. I was definitely becoming envious of the other kids at school with Xbox 360s and PlayStation 3s, as everybody was talking about Call of Duty and not giving a damn about the Wii anymore, and I just couldn't contribute anything to that conversation. But I damn well tried, with most of the games I picked up this year being multi-platform titles. First up, You Don't Know Jack. And now we wait. I watched reviews of this game and thought it looked really quirky and fun. Basically a trivia game that mostly asks legitimate questions phrased in absurd ways that generally pokes fun at pop culture. God damn it. Okay, I was willing to look past it for this game because I thought You Don't Know Jack was really unique. One of the coolest trivia games out there. Yeah, I said it. Keeping up with my multi-plat kick, you may have noticed I never owned a Guitar Hero or Rock Band title, which were huge around this time. To that I say,
Yep.
I tried a little bit of Band Hero at a friend's place, but I think these sets just seemed too expensive. I didn't bother to even ask. However, one day at Best Buy, I noticed a DJ Hero set on clearance for only 20 bucks. I mean, why not? I can finally own a Guitar Hero title now. Just felt like a massive box I needed to check, so I was happy to add this to the collection. As cool as the peripheral was, I only played this once or twice. I mean, it just didn't interest me a whole lot. I'm sorry, I was adapting to the new climate. If I'm going to relate to my fellow classmates, I'm gonna need to get into those newfangled first-person shooters. One Wii Zapper, please. One day at GameStop, I was about to buy a Wii Zapper and a used copy of The Conduit. Though my mom came in as the cashier was trying to get me to buy a used Wii Zapper instead, and she didn't know any better and egged me on to do it. I didn't want it used because I wanted to get the game the new copy came bundled with. Yeah, so that was another trip to return this and get the one I wanted. But I probably could have just found Link's crossbow training used for $2 by itself at GameStop, which I definitely would have preferred because the Wii Zapper, I did not like this thing. Oh, wow, what the hell, Scott? What do you like?
I like bitchin'.
I would just play the included game without it, which was a blast. Link's crossbow training is incredibly fun. It's short, but very addictive. The Conduit, I played for 30 minutes. I was busy. I was really struggling with these first-person games, but to be fair, I wasn't playing the right ones. My 13th birthday, I decided to take the plunge and ask my parents for an M-rated game. Like the first attempt went well. Now, I asked for Call of Duty Black Ops, and I think they were okay with it considering they heard how so many young kids were playing it on their Xbox 360s. Wasn't gonna stop me. The Wii version of Black Ops is still Black Ops at the end of the day. It sure is, Scott. It sure is. Yeah, I mean, this was serviceable. It gave me a Call of Duty experience, especially with a Classic Controller Pro I picked up, but it was just too damn hard to get good here. Everybody else playing online were 1,000 times better than me, and I didn't get far in the campaign. You know what? It. I'm going back to my roots, man. I call wind of a new Wii series game releasing, a sequel to Wii Play, also bundled with a Wii Remote, this one including Motion Plus built in. You guys are mean. I really enjoyed this one. Lots of fun ideas, though it definitely didn't leave the same impact as any of the other Wii titles. As much as I like these colorful, simple Nintendo games, I knew something still had to change. The Call of Duty was a bit too advanced for me at the moment, so I decided to wean myself on a non-conduit Wii exclusive first-person shooter, that being a used copy of GoldenEye 007. And I officially discovered another of my all-time favorites. GoldenEye on Wii was phenomenal. Being designed specifically for the platform allowed it to take advantage of the lower-end system rather than just make it work like what Black Ops did. It felt perfect here. The first-person shooter I ever got into and beat, and even afterwards I kept with it as an online multiplayer game to play whenever. I seriously loved this game. So much I bought the DS version when I saw it used at GameStop.
We all express love in different ways. And that's a good place to end. I mean, I could keep going and going to when I got my Nintendo 3DS, my Xbox 360, the rotten PlayStation 2 I found at a garage sale, the Gunstringer for Kinect. But those all occurred in what I'd consider to be my teenage years, when I had more power and choice as to what games I played. And while that freedom was pretty sweet, you just don't have the same memories and connections to those games as you did when you were playing pure garbage and didn't know it. My childhood game collection was not perfect whatsoever.
If I knew what I did now, I could replace 90% of the games I owned. Not this one, though, negative reinforcement. But even if I could replace them, I wouldn't. As lame as some of these games are, they helped form who I am today. They mean a lot to me, even if I did forget some of them, even if I'll never play them again. They remind me of a time where possibilities were endless, when I could look past the flaws of anything and still have a great time. Which is something that gets harder and harder to do with age. That's why your childhood is important. You can't take it for granted. And while we do all have to eventually grow up, it's okay to look back and reminisce sometimes. Think about what you liked back then, why you liked it, what made you happy, what you played all the time, because it can make you rediscover what makes you, you. That's why I'm proud of my childhood game collection. As stupid as these games could be, as basic as they were mine, much like my childhood itself. Everybody has different experiences. Just because I didn't play many Game of the Years or own much more than just Nintendo consoles and licensed E-rated games, well, if I regurgitated your childhood right back to you, that would be plagiarism. And boring! I mean, damn it! I just want to scream to the world, hey all, Scott here. I owned Cars the video game, and I may get arrested for disruptive behavior, but at least I was me while doing it. Which would not bode well for me in court.